In Berlin, there is a very fancy department store, and I'm going to butcher their name, and I'm never going to be able to face a German person with dignity, so I'm just going to call it Berlin's Barneys, Berlin's Saks. You walk in, and most things are going to be in the cases, the locked glass cabinets. The lighting is always pristine, so everything looks so sparkly in there. It's like the trademark of every expensive jewelry store or department store. The lighting is so good. You can make a plastic candy wrapper look like some naturally mined yellow diamond just sparkling in the light. That's this type of department store. And they don't just carry jewelry, they have very expensive watches. The ones where they say, oh, sorry, that's only for exhibition, and then you have to buy like 10 other things before they let you buy the one watch that you wanted in the first place. There's a lot of money sitting in those cases. So much so that the store employs motion detectors. They have an extensive security system for the entire place, which is the premise of every good heist movie, every good heist TV show. The plan is simple. Get in, grab the best stuff, get out, and don't get caught. Plot detail that must be included is the doors are all censored, impenetrable. However, there will be a skylight. You can just unscrew the nails, remove the skylight, throw in a rope, slide down it, just like the three masked men in Berlin will slide down the rope to partake in a shop after midnight special where they get the entire store to themselves. It sounds like a movie. This is very much real life. They take $6.5 million worth of fine jewelry and watches. Instead of leaving behind a credit card to finance their very rushed transaction, if you will, or their afterpay details, they leave behind a singular glove. And inside that glove is a singular bead of sweat. DNA evidence. Authorities run the DNA. They get a hit. It's too easy. Of course it is, right? It links back to someone with a criminal record for theft and fraud. Times two. What do you mean times two? 2 counts of fraud? 2 counts of theft? What do you mean? No. The DNA links back to 2 people with criminal records for theft and fraud. So what, did they just change gloves in between and they both sweat into it? How's that possible? It's DNA. 2 people don't have the same DNA unless you're an identical twin. 2 27-year-old brothers, H and A, are arrested based off of the fact that the DNA in the glove links back to them. So here's what we know. 3 masked men, 1 glove with DNA belonging to one of the brothers. Only one of the twins could be involved, or both of the twins could be involved. Neither of them are willing to talk or cooperate, which means it really could be either or. And that's all the evidence they have. Nothing else.
This is a real heist?
Yeah, in Berlin. So, like, what do?
How do we know it's 3 people?
They saw 3 masked men.
On the camera?
Yeah, but only DNA for 1 person was left behind. And they don't know which twin. They don't know if both the twins are involved, if maybe the 2 twins are 2 of the 3 people, or if only one of the brothers was involved. So what do? Do you throw both in jail just in case? You can't.
Wait, so DNA cannot identify which twin?
No.
Never?
You can now, but it takes sometimes $1 million.
Wow.
And there's only a handful of companies in the world that can handle that. Both brothers, the twins, even though at least one of them was most likely involved in the heist, both of them have to be released because prosecutors cannot prove beyond a reasonable doubt which twin or both were involved in this case. Within the week, both twins are released before the case can even go to trial, and the court writes in a statement, "From the evidence we have, we can deduce that at least one of the brothers took part in the crime, but it has not been possible to determine which one." And the diamond heist in Berlin goes unsolved. Identical twins develop from a single fertilized egg. So that splits into 2 embryos. So they essentially share the same nuclear DNA. And while it's not exactly the same, it might as well be, okay? A normal DNA test done in the event of a crime usually scans about 20 fixed markers. Because that's how different everyone's DNA is. And that still takes multiple days. 20 spots in the DNA and compare. If you're trying to find the difference between identical twins, because they do have differences, you would have to sequence the entire 3 billion base genome at ultra high depth. One sequencing expert describes it like this. Imagine the human genome consists of a 3 billion letter code. If the body is growing or an embryo is developing, then all 3 billion letters have to be copied. But during the copying process in the body, there are typos happening. Identical twins have the same DNA, except sometimes maybe about 8 typos, or a few cells will split and evolve differently here and there. But again, it's on average about 8 differences across the whole 3 billion genome.
So on paper, 3 billion should be identical.
Yeah.
except the 8 typos.
Yes. There's only a handful of labs that are capable of running this level of a test. And even if it's done, it costs taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe up to the 7-figure mark. And a lot of the time, it can't even be really used in court because of how novel it is. It's very easy for defense attorneys to get it thrown out or for them to confuse the jury with it. Is it going to get easier in the future? Probably. Is it going to get cheaper in the future? Probably. But right now, is it a problem? I think so. Especially when, in the United States, you have a case in Ohio of a woman who lives alone, getting essayed and murdered in her own room, in her own bed. And the DNA left at the scene, it traces back to a set of identical twins. 2 13-year-old boys are the main suspects of a rape and murder. But which twin is the guilty one? And how are investigators going to figure out which one is the killer? This is the case of the Cart twins. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the Joyful Heart Foundation, who are working to transform society's response to SADV, CA, and support survivors healing with resources like education, advocacy, and policy change. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's team of dedicated researchers. We'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. There is a brief mention of suspected essay, and some quotes or statements may have been condensed for brevity. Let's get into it. Becca and Kyle are no longer together, which is probably for the best, okay? By all accounts, it appears the two are much healthier when they're focused on co-parenting their twin sons. You've got Hunter Cart, who is 2 minutes older than Levi Cart. They're identical twins, but they look kind of more like fraternal twins than anything, which is just an observation. It's not like all identical twins have to dress the same or look the same, but it's just an observation. Hunter and Levi clearly have their own styles, their own personalities, their own interests. They're 2 completely different people. Hunter has longer hair, almost down to his shoulders, and he seems, at least from the initial body cam footage, he seems to have a much more softer demeanor, just based off of that. He seems like the type of student who would sit next to you if you're alone during lunch period. Meanwhile, Levi, who often goes by Lewis these days, has more of the skater kid look. He looks a little bit scrawnier. He does have long hair, but not in the way that Hunter does. It looks like a skater kid.
Why does Levi go by Lewis?
He just decided he wanted to go by Lewis one day. So everyone's been calling him Lewis. So if you hear Lewis and Levi interchangeably in the body cam footage, it's because they're talking about Levi.
But it's not legally changed, right?
No, not at all. Now, he's got long hair, sharper jawline. He also appears to have a soft, quiet demeanor, but in a different way from Hunter. He seems like the type that maybe he wouldn't sit next to you if you're sitting alone in the lunchroom, because he too is probably sitting alone, is the energy that you get. Could I be wrong? Probably. Okay, we don't know that much about them yet, other than a match to their DNA was found in a woman's bed, Denise's bed, where she was killed. But Becca and Kyle, the Cart twins' parents, they don't know that. Becca and Kyle are just concerned about how this ongoing police investigation in their neighborhood is going to impact their twin sons. Kyle texts Becca, "I was telling Levi not to assume the worst, but I knew it was a bad sign when there's just that many cops with no lights on all standing around. Usually means they found a body and they're holding the site down until forensics and investigators arrive. Was she killed at the house?" They're talking about one of the neighbors on the street who was just killed in her house. And as much as the parents want to try and shield the teenage twins away from everything going on the street, it's very hard to do that when you live, 50 feet away, and the police are knocking at your door trying to get answers? They're knocking on everyone's door. The police investigation into what happened to 64-year-old Denise has been both very straightforward and complicated all at the same time. Denise's brother, Daryl, is the one that finds Denise. It's Sunday morning. They had lunch plans. She's not picking up. 11:11 a.m., Daryl is messaging her, "Are you skipping lunch?" Daryl doesn't know it yet, but she's already gone. Within the hour, he comes to her house. He walks up to the front door, and he goes to knock on the door, and it just gets pushed open when he knocks. The front door is unlocked. He walks inside, and he sees his sister inside, laying on her bed. Her pajamas are ripped, exposing her chest. Her pajama pants are ripped. She has blood in between her legs. The blankets are covering her face, and on top of the blanket, there's like a porcelain figurine, like, you know, those collectibles that you see at those antique shops that have almost like a vintage feel to it, but it's an angel figurine, and it's placed on top of the blanket, on top of her head. So her face is covered with this blanket, and there's this angel figurine on top of the blanket. and Denise is not moving. The crime scene is just really odd. Even when the police are walking in for the first time with their body cameras on, they're really confused by the scene. Because yes, of course, the angel figurine is confusing, but there's also other things. Like, they asked if maybe the brother, Daryl, had covered her up because he didn't want the police to see her like this. But they're like, no, dispatch said he found her like this. There's also a bunch of cleaning chemicals, like bottles of cleaning chemicals and Pepto-Bismol. They noticed like this pink liquid all over her, and it's just someone poured Pepto-Bismol on her. Or maybe she drank it. They're contemplating. The investigators are like, well, maybe she drank it. We don't know.
Pepto-Bismol is for
acid reflux, typically. So you've got bottles of cleaning solutions, Pepto-Bismol, cleaning chemicals dumped on her body, and just what? Like, are they trying to get rid of biological evidence? There's also blood splatter on the walls. The blood leads all the way out of her bedroom. On the floor, there's a trail of blood to the back door. And then from the back door to the very back gate of the backyard fence, there's blood there too. Whoever did this, though, didn't leave any fingerprints. So they're wearing gloves. Police start scouting the neighborhood. They're going door to door. They're asking residents, can you take your shirt off? Because they found blood, hair, and DNA under Denise's nails. And they're like, we just want to see if you have some scratch marks. So you just see body cam of neighbors taking their shirt offs and showing them getting DNA swabbed. And of course, while investigators are checking for scratch marks or anything suspicious, residents are also sharing what they think happened, okay? One neighbor reports, it might be Dave. Dave? You know, okay, so it's around midnight. She'd been sitting out on her porch, one of the neighbors. She was with a friend. And they're chit-chatting, and they see this balding white man with blonde hair, medium build, Dave, okay? His name is Dave, and he's drunk. He's drunk and walking around the neighborhood near Denise's property. That was Saturday night.
Is he a neighbor?
Yeah, he lives in the neighborhood. They go investigate Dave. They don't think it's Dave. One neighbor asks the officers, you guys think it's random? The officer asks him what he's heard. Well, from what I heard, you know, a guy down in that new house over there, a couple others, I was out here having my cigarette, and I hear, I think the brother did it, and they're going to arrest him in a couple days, like 3 days. I'm like, what? So they think the brother did it. Any reason why you would think that?
The brother of the victim?
Yeah, Daryl. I don't know. That's just the speculation right now. So he's just saying he's smoking a cigarette. He overheard neighbors saying the brother did it. The police do get sidetracked into a mini investigation into Daryl, the brother. He's the one that called 911. He's the one that found his sister's body. He's relatively calm on the 911 call, but not in a particularly suspicious way.
She's got her head covered with a pillow, her legs exposed, and she's been stripped naked, and it might be some blood.
To me, it just sounds like he's trying to relay information as quickly as possible. But something that's very interesting to officers is that when the police originally walked in, they don't rule out the possibility of self-exit. The Pepto-Bismol, the cleaning supplies, they find some prescription medication in her house. I mean, it could be possible that she self-exited trying to ingest these chemicals. The blood could have been hers because she could have been throwing up blood from the chemicals. They don't know yet. The investigators, they have no clue. There's a bit of blood splatter, but again, maybe it's hers. Furthermore, one of the first things Daryl tells the officers is that he believes his sister was S8. How can he be so sure? They didn't think that when they first walked in. Also, Daryl never performed any sort of life-saving measure to try and save his sister. He says he walked in and, quote, well, she was laying on the bed with her legs spread and it looked like there was blood and, you know, on her head and stuff. On top, looked like someone tried to smother her and she looked like they ripped her thing open, and I yelled at her and I didn't see no movement from her whatsoever. I just turned around and I walked out and I'm like, I can't. He doesn't try CPR. He doesn't try to save her. Not that I think it would have made a difference, but for those reasons, the police do investigate Daryl, and it doesn't help that when they reach Daryl's home, it's a bit of a hoarder situation. And he explains to the officers, almost in an embarrassed way, that his mom had recently passed and his sister had passed, so his home had gotten a little worse from the stress. They check his body for scratches, and they check his DNA, and he is very quickly ruled out as a suspect. But it doesn't stop the neighbors from whispering on their porches and pointing their fingers. One neighbor particularly does not care who did it. They just want the police to make sure they get vengeance. And they, quote, say, find that fool and he needs to die.
Find that fool.
Yes.
And he needs to die.
Yeah.
The police are like, this is a intense neighborhood. They go to the next door, and this time they're right across the street from Denise's residence. So they've actually knocked on this door prior, but nobody was home. So they're coming back around after they've done their little, and a woman with bright pink hair opens the door. Becca. She's the mother of twin boys, Hunter and Levi Cart. She talks with the investigators outside and she mentions the day that they found Denise. It was actually like a really busy day. So it's been like a week since that. And she's just saying, oh my God, like that day was really intense for us. She explains that when all the ambulances had come onto the street Sunday morning, they weren't even home. Actually, Sunday morning at like 6 a.m., we had to run to the ER because my son, the cat, I guess, was sleeping on his face and they startled each other in the dark and it scratched him. And so we were worried that it could be bad or infected. It wasn't a big deal, but it was just like traumatizing. And I was like, everybody get in the car. Cat scratches. Okay, that's very interesting.
So the police immediately alarm bells going off, right?
Cat scratches in the middle of the night. The investigators want to talk to Hunter and Levi Cart just to ask them if they've seen anything weird or strange outside. And Becca is a bit hesitant. She's just worried about how the news is going to be delivered to them. She doesn't want them super traumatized. They're only 13. She was thinking about ways to break the news to them, but they seemed really stressed out this week. And just there's been a lot going on in the house. She mentions multiple times to investigators she would rather not use the M word, murder, if we could.
We both have kids, and we both know.
Okay. So
We're
I feel
not-
like the M word is scary.
We're not going to give them any details
No.
like that, especially if you don't want us
Do
to.
they have to talk to you? Is that like a?
No, we just
I
figured
don't
this
want
would
to
be
be
a...
uncooperative. I just.
No, not at all.
You know, she's worried about how it's going to impact them. They're just in the 7th grade. They've been homeschooled, but also we're about to move out of state. So there's just a lot going on. The investigators quickly find out that the twins, they are 13 and they are very young, but they both do like watching true crime documentaries, but that doesn't make them somehow better candidates to finding out that a particularly cruel and random crime just took place across the street. So they decide that they're going to be a little sensitive with it. The twins, maybe it's shock or just their outwardly reactions, they take it pretty well. I mean, I guess as well as you would hope two 13-year-olds take it. Levi Cart is just listening to the news of what happened to Denise, their neighbor. He nods his head up and down. He's got his arms crossed. He's more in shock and how it relates to him. He's like, you know, this random day, we had to wake up trying to do photos, and then it's this.
What does that mean, do photos?
Yeah, what does that mean, right? So the Cart family explains, okay, so we're actually like a week or two of moving out of state to Long Beach, California. And so we actually had an appointment that day, Sunday, for the real estate agent to come and take photos of the house so that we could put it up on the market. So we've been really busy like all weekend trying to make the house super clean and just get ready for the move. And that's the day that Denise is found. So it was chaotic. Meanwhile, Hunter has a more true crime investigative approach. Hunter responds, I don't know how many case details you can put out, but like, what do you guys suspect? Or what do you guys know about what happened? He's asking questions. The investigators aren't about to debrief a 13-year-old kid about their investigation. They just respond, well, I can tell you this. It shouldn't have happened, and we need to figure out why it happened so that hopefully we can keep it from happening again. Because we hate to miss on some evidence, and if you've watched enough TV, you know, we don't want to be those cops that forgot to do this or look into that. Hunter's like, I've watched plenty TV.
Because we'd hate to miss some evidence, and if you've watched any TV, we don't want to be those cops that forgot to do this or look into that.
We have watched plenty.
They
You know what I
They
mean,
love
so-
watching the true crimes.
Becca mentions, you know, like they're both really into true crime. And Levi shakes his head no, but Hunter interjects. Me and my brother, especially my brother, know a lot. I would say definitely my brother knows a lot about just the police in general.
Me and my brother, especially my brother, know a lot. Definitely my brother knows a lot about just the police in general.
He wants to go into the murder.
Levi just looks over at Hunter, kind of looking at him like, what do you say? What do you say? And their mother informs the investigators, Levi wants to go into the Marines when he gets older. Oh, nice. Well, recruitment is always here. So the police are just going along with it.
But they are very suspicious.
Yes, because of the cat scratches. I do not believe there's in any world where Becca has any sort of inkling or belief that one of her twins has anything to do with what happened to Denise across the street. So my next question is completely unrelated and hypothetical for parents out there. If you have more than one kid and you get a call from jail, does your brain immediately jump to one kid over the other? Where it's like, oh, it's probably my second kid because they're a little bit more wild. Or it's probably my first kid because they've had run-ins with the law before. Like, do you immediately think of one child before you hear the voice on the phone? When the investigators talk to the Cart twins, it's been about a week since Denise's murder. And the investigators, they start asking them about the past weekend, the weekend that Denise is killed. What were you doing? Do you remember anything? Investigators asked the twins separately. So they're still in the cart house. They haven't gone to the police station or anything. They're just standing in the living room. And Hunter is like, well, that weekend was a blur because so Hunter was really sick. Hunter's explaining, like, I was throwing up for a few days straight. I couldn't even leave the bathroom. And Levi had to go to the ER because the cat scratched his face pretty badly. Interesting. And he says, yeah, that whole weekend was a blur. They ask Levi the same question. And this is, again, separately. And he more or less says the same thing. And he says that weekend was a blur.
That whole day was just kind of a blur for everybody.
I don't know, a lot of it's a blur.
It's an interesting word choice. Like, not one that I would often use to describe my weekends, but like, maybe that's just me. The investigators are a little puzzled by it, I think. They get the twins together. Now they're both sitting on the living room couch while the investigators are telling them about what happened across the street. And maybe in an attempt to reassure the investigators they can handle this type of tense information, Hunter mentions that the two of them are much more mature than the other kids their age, especially Levi.
Me and Lewis have both agreed that him especially is a lot more mature than most kids our age.
Which I would think normally seems like a compliment, but Levi looks a little confused where this is all coming from, why Hunter keeps yapping. Hunter even brings up Levi's injuries. He has other scars on his back from another surgery that he did, and now he has the new one on his nose from the cat to add to it. And Hunter asks Levi in front of the officers, how does it feel to have 3 scars? And Levi is just staring at his twin brother deadpan in the face for a long time, not really answering. Eventually, the investigators want to leave, but not before collecting both of the twins' DNA, cheek swabs for DNA testing. And it comes back a match for both. But that doesn't mean that they're both guilty, but because they're identical twins, they share the same STR markers, like I said, which means the police now need to find out if one or both of the twins are guilty.
So when it came back a match,
Yeah.
did we see how they reacted to that, or we don't have that information?
We're going to see.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Yeah. So the investigators, they go back to the house, but they don't immediately say any of this. Their whole objective is to get the twins and Becca to the police station where they can separate the twins, record their reactions, and start interrogating them, okay? So they've got like a very tricky balancing game that they have to do of trying to get them there without officially detaining them because they can't. So it's this weird back and forth of like, let's go. It's just, you have to, okay. So the DNA could point to both the twins. You can't just arrest both preemptively because it's one or the other. All of this is very tricky, and it's even trickier because they're both minors. So they come up with this profoundly dumb plan, the investigators. We're just gonna go to the house and see if they'll come back to the police station. I don't even think they had a plan. They go back to the cart house, and the family, Becca, Hunter, and Levi, are walking back in with a bag of canes, Raising Canes, and their drinks. They're just about to sit and eat when the police ask them, why don't you guys come to the police station? Like, do you mind coming with me to talk about what happened across the street? And Becca's like, sure. But then as she's getting ready to go, Becca's like, wait, why do we have to go to the police station? Like, last time you guys just came to the house and you were talking to us, like, why do we have to go to the police station? And she even asked, do we need to be getting lawyers or something? I'm feeling nervous about this. You're welcome to call an attorney.
Do we need to be getting lawyers or something? I'm feeling nervous about this. I don't.
You're welcome to call an attorney.
One of the twins, Levi, seemingly agrees with his mom, and he's asking, also, do we have to go? Like, is this a right now thing, or is it like a, we would like you? You don't have to do anything, I suppose.
Like, do we have to go? Is this like a right now thing, or?
We would like you to.
Yes.
It would make, you don't have to do anything, I suppose. But.
The whole energy is so tense in the house. You don't have to go, but also, like, I'm just gonna stand here as a police officer and not leave. So now it feels like you kind of have to go, doesn't it? Becca points out, okay, I don't know, I feel uncomfortable. And even in my dumbest days, I would not think this is a smart plan for the cops. But they say, how about we get out of here and we kind of explain what's going on?
I don't know. I feel uncomfortable.
How about we get there, we can explain kind of what's going on, give you some more info, and you can always,
Okay.
So they're like, let's get out of the house so I can explain what's going on. Can you explain what's going on before we head out of here? Do you mind if we do that outside? The investigators get the entire family onto the front lawn, and they're all awkwardly standing there, still holding their Raising Cane's food and their drinks. Like Hunter is holding 2 red, like, soda cups, and they're just outside, and it's weird and it's confusing. And the officer tells them, well, let's go to the police station so we don't have to like stand in the rain and talk about it. So you went from inside the house and say, let's go outside and talk about it. Now it's raining outside, it's drizzling. And then he's like, well, why stand out in the rain when we can go to the police station?
So they were playing by the ear.
Yeah,
No plan.
No plan.
Let me just move them 1 inch at a time.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm not saying the police aren't doing their jobs, but was this really the best that they could come up with? It's just a little odd. He says that he has some pictures he wants to show them and talk to them about certain things. Becca's like, are we under suspicion or something? We just want to talk to you. I think you guys could help us clear a lot of things up around here. Eventually, Becca agrees. She gets placed in one car, the twins in the back of another squad car, and of course, the cameras are rolling. Perhaps the authorities were hoping for some kind of Isabel Valdez, Lois Lippert situation where they just start yapping in the cop car about how they committed a crime, but they do not get that. But the energy with the twins is weird. They're in the back of the police car, still holding their food, and Hunter says, I mean, it's probably more questions, so, I mean, there's nothing we can't talk about. Levi's like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. Neither do I. Levi mentions, this is all very, very unexpected.
I mean, but there's nothing that we can't talk about.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Neither do I.
It's all very, very unexpected.
His voice doesn't sound surprised though, or like he was not expecting it. It just sounds like just weird. Hunter has a slightly more normal response and he mentions, my anxiety levels are through the roof. Yeah, I don't know why there's so many police vehicles either. Yeah, that's definitely what scared me. Seeing all those cops immediately pull up, like one person's there, you know, didn't see that other cop pulled up, right? Yeah, I was just like, what's the reason for that? I don't know, maybe it's an intimidation tactic. I guess. But why would they need to intimidate us? Right.
I don't know why there's so many, like, police vehicles either.
Yeah, that's definitely what scared me. Seeing all the cops immediately pull up. Like, one person's there, didn't see that other cop pull up, and then
I was just like, why are they... What's the reason
I'm sure
for that?
It's, I don't know, maybe it's an intimidation tactic?
I guess, but what?
I don't know why
are they
would
trying to
intimidate us.
Right.
Levi saying that?
Yeah, it's just a weird interaction. Because I feel like either you're not talking about the case, or maybe you're like, God, I was hungry and I just wanted to eat. Like, what's wrong with the cops? Or you're just quiet, or you're talking about something else. Mm-hmm. When they get to the police station, the twins are separated from Becca. They come in through a completely separate entrance, which seems to be a bold and deliberate choice by the investigators, which I think is kind of questionable. Becca can sense what they're doing, and she does not like it one bit. So she was hesitant at the house. She was a little bit agreeable on the front lawn, but still hesitant. Once she gets to the police station, they bring her into a separate room, and she's like, oh, fuck no, okay? They're trying to distract her. They keep trying to get her to eat her Raising Cane's, and she's like, I don't want food. I want to get us our lawyer. Because she's like, I did not think that I was going to come to this police station and not see my kids. I'm supposed to be with my kids. They're 13 years old. Why are you talking to my kids without me?
I don't want food. I want to
Go ahead.
get us our lawyer and have my children stop being questioned without a lawyer present immediately.
What are they telling her exactly?
She's like, oh, we just want to talk to you guys. We just want to talk to everyone.
And she's like, where are my kids?
Yeah, she's like, well, you can't talk to them without me there because I'm their mother and they're minors.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to get us our lawyer and have my children stop being questioned without the lawyer being present immediately. So let's make that happen. I think she is rightfully protecting her underage sons. Like, none of this is out of the norm. Like, this is actually what a good mom should do. Yeah. Now, the police, however, they try to stall. And their stalling methods are beyond me. One of the officers compliments Becca's slippers, saying they look so comfy. Where'd you buy them? And Becca's like, yeah, they are comfy. And she's like, really? I know you're being friendly, but I need to know that my children are not being questioned and that they have a lawyer. You didn't let us know that we were being detained.
Those look
so comfy.
They are comfy.
Amazon?
Not, yeah.
Are they Amazon?
Yeah.
I find the best things on Amazon. People are so against it.
Really, I know you're being friendly. I need to know that my children are not being questioned and that they have a lawyer, because this is...
You're not being detained. You're free to go. You didn't let us know that you were detaining my children. they're free to leave. Right now? They're allowed to leave right now? Let's go right now. Right now. You said they're allowed to leave. Yes or no? You cannot take them.
You didn't let us know that we were being detained.
You're not being detained. You're free to go.
No, you didn't let us know that you were detaining my children.
They're free to leave.
You did not. Right now? They're allowed to leave right now. Let's go. Right now. Right now. You said they're allowed to leave. Yes or no?
You cannot take them.
Okay, I don't know what the police are saying at this point. They also take Becca's phone, so she can't even contact her lawyer, which all of this, really, the investigators are working hard to create a migraine-inducing headache for prosecutors later. Like, the DA's office is not going to like any of this. And technically, I do believe in Ohio, there's no absolute rule requiring a parent or lawyer to be present before police question a minor, but the way that they're handling this, I would imagine, could invite some legal murkiness, to say the least. They have Becca in that one room of the police station. Hunter and Levi are separated in different rooms, and they are now going to start questioning the boys separately, simultaneously, to get their stories. Levi is obviously going to be the main focus, mainly because of his curiously timed cat scratches on his face. The Hulu original series, Furious, is coming to Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus on July 27th. From Liz Merriweather, the Emmy-nominated executive producer of Dying for Sex and The Dropout, comes a gripping psychological thriller starring Emmy Rossum as Alice Black. Furious follows a rookie FBI agent on the hunt for Catherine, a mysterious and calculating female serial killer. While Alice upholds justice, Catherine kills for it, terrorizing the rich and powerful men of New York in her pursuit of vengeance. As their twisted game of cat and mouse unfolds, the lines between good and evil begin to blur. With shocking crimes, tangled relationships, and secrets that change everything, Alice discovers there's a thin line between hunter and prey. Watch the Hulu original series, Furious, on July 27th, streaming on Hulu and Hulu on Disney Plus for bundle subscribers. Terms apply. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably used to things getting a little complicated, but Southern New Hampshire University does things differently. They keep it simple. Over 200 online programs so you can skip the commute, no set class times so you don't have to rearrange your life, and actual humans supporting you so you're never doing it alone. It's college without the chaos. Seriously? See everything Southern New Hampshire University has to offer at snhu.edu/rottenmango. And Levi is sitting there in this small interview room. He has like that slouched, relaxed body language of a 13-year-old, even though this is a very, very serious day for him. He's wearing a hoodie and he somehow looks like he just woke up. He has his Raising Cane's styrofoam container in front of him, a red soda cup with a straw in.
So they're just holding this bag and not eating at all the whole time?
Yeah, so they separate, like Levi is the one holding the bag, so they're getting him to open, check which one is his, because some people got the coleslaw, some people got the fries. They bring the styrofoam containers to the other two, so everyone has their food in front of them, and the investigators keep encouraging all three of them, eat. And they're just like, why am I here? Why am I not eating at home?
Is any of them eating?
Levi is eating a little bit in the beginning, but yeah, they all stop because they're like, I don't know. I also think that they just are eating because the police keep telling them to eat. But Becca is not eating. She's like, where the fuck are my kids? Levi says in the interview that there's a bit of context to the whole thing with the cat scratches, okay? So the family is moving to Long Beach, California in about a week, which means they're packing, they're boxing everything up, right? And quote, cats get weird, if you know that, when you're trying to move. And we had just moved his play set so that, he probably thought like, oh, something's happening. The officers want to know more about the cat incident. And Levi explains, well, okay, so the cat Marshmallow sleeps with my mom. Sometimes my brother, not really with me. So he woke up, and Marshmallow is laying on Levi's chest. And I woke up and I was like, what's going on? I was freaked out because I felt something on me and I had sleep paralysis before. So I was kind of freaky. And then I tried to touch him and he got obviously scared. He was like, what's going on? Probably. So he started scratching at me, started scratching my face. And he first started scratching at my arms because I was trying to get him off of me because I didn't know what was going on. So he scratched my face. You couldn't really see it. You can't see it anymore. But yeah. he like scratched my face here, and then he scratched me with his biggest claw, which we've been knowing we needed to cut for a while now, for a long time. Like he scratched me on the nose, like right here, really, really hard, because we both like extremely spooked each other. Just like a lot of scratching going on. But now that he thinks about it, Levi questions, maybe the cat heard something outside, because that was the night that Denise was killed across the street. So like maybe the cat was like extra spooked because animals can sense stuff. Like that's kind of what he's hinting at.
What does the scratch look like on his face though?
Now he had stitches. He had 5 stitches on his nose in the hospital. It's been about a week since then, and the scratch has healed pretty well. But he's saying there were other scratches, and they seem to be primarily gone. Like it seems mostly gone.
Okay, so the face like doesn't look very
It's
obvious.
like a scar on the nose, but it's not, wow, oh my gosh, you got messed up by the cat. It's just like a nose now.
Maybe even he woke up, or he was up and he got freaked out because he heard a sound. And that none of us did. And then he went and got on me. I mean, he sleeps with my mom sometimes, or my brother, not really with me.
Right.
So yeah, he just, like, he woke me up, felt like he was, like, right here. Well, you just, so I was like, you know, I woke up and I was like, what's going on? I was freaked out because I felt something on me. And I have had sleep paralysis before, so it was kind of freaky. And then I like tried to touch him, and he got obviously scared. He was like, what's going on? Probably. So he started scratching at me. He started scratching my face, and first he started scratching like my arms, because I was like trying to like get him off of me, because I didn't know what was going on. So he like scratched my face. Couldn't really see it. You can't see it anymore, but yeah, he like scratched my face. You can see this here. And then he scratched, I think, his biggest claw, which we've been knowing we needed to cut them for a while, a long time. He like scratched me on my nose, like right here, really, really hard, because we both extremely spooked each other.
And so maybe Marshmallow heard what was going on across the street, got freaked out, and scratched Levi? They're like, oh, that's a pretty deep cut for a cat named Marshmallow. I mean, to be fair, though, Levi's mom does explain that she felt really bad about her son getting scratched by Marshmallow, because they all knew that they had to cut Marshmallow's nails for a while, but they hadn't gotten around to it. And investigators, they need to make sure that they're not so distracted by Levi's cat scratches that they miss other details that might be important, like the fact that Levi has a twin brother, Hunter, whose DNA was also technically found at the scene, because they share the same DNA. Levi is an over-explainer. He likes to go in depth explaining everything that's happened to him with the cat. But Hunter, in his own way, is also a talker. He's sitting in the interview room with the 2 officers. He's eating his Raising Cane's, just telling the police about his life story. He's talking about how they're about to turn 14 next month. And he mentions, when it was Mom's birthday, me and Levi were play fighting and I pushed him and he ended up breaking his hip. Okay, interesting. At some point, he realizes that the questions are starting to feel a bit more serious, and he asks, can I stop eating? Because they keep telling him to eat. So I feel like he felt obligated to eat, and he's like, can I just stop eating, please? Yeah. He doesn't feel comfortable. He also reiterates that he doesn't feel pressured to answer any questions, and he says, I mean, of course I feel a little pressure, but I don't feel like I have to sign these papers. I just know more suspicion is put on me if I don't answer any questions.
Just so you know, I don't feel pressured doing this. I personally feel a little pressured, but I don't feel like I have to sign those.
Okay.
I just know it's more suspicion is put on me if I don't answer any questions. So
he immediately starts the interview saying, can I say something? I want to let you guys know. I know this is more so about me, but just letting you know. My brother, every time I talk about it with him, because I somewhat have I wouldn't say morbid curiosity, but I went online and looked up the news for it after you guys came in. So they're like, oh, interesting. You looked on Google what happened across the street? You know, which in his defense, wouldn't everybody look on Google, right? But it's important exactly what he looked up. It's one thing to Google murder on blank street. It's another thing to Google how do police find DNA at the scene? Composite sketch of killer on blank street, right? So the investigators ask him, can you show me what you looked up? Do you have your phone on you? No, I don't have my phone on me. And even if I did, literally the day, a few hours after they came in, or actually I don't remember if it was the day before or what. But my charger broke in my phone and it stopped working. And then we were able to get the piece of the charger that was broken in out, and now it's charging fine, but the battery's basically fried. So unless I have it plugged in 24/7, it's gonna turn off. And if I try to enter my passcode or turn on the lock screen or anything like that, it's gonna turn off. How'd that happen? I'm not sure. For a while, my phone has had a crack in it because I used to have some anger issues.
For a while now, my phone has had a crack in it because I used to have some anger issues. Honestly, this kind of sucks because it really seems like, obviously, I looked into it, I thought about it, my mom thought about it, and Lewis thought about it. That day he got scratches on his face. Because of that day, he had to go to the hospital, and then he decided to go to Dad's house, so then he wasn't in the neighborhood. It all seems like a very wide coincidence, because of course his cat was his face was scratched by a cat.
So he's almost like working through his thoughts out loud, which is like the last thing you want to do in front of the police. But he's like, no, my phone broke. But like, I also know that now that makes everything suspicious because I thought about it. Clearly my mom was thinking about it. Levi was thinking about it. And then I know that like, I don't think my brother would do it, but like, I know that he has the scratches on his face, which are kind of weird. He also mentions that his brother Levi calls himself a narcissist, but Hunter is like, but I don't really ever think so. But it's interesting that Hunter mentions that.
He calls himself a narcissist. Not necessarily. There's a lot of words I don't know and stuff, but I don't think he could do something like that. But at the same time, there's so much evidence stacked up upon him. So there's also evidence that's stacked up against him.
So when they talk about Hunter's phone, he says the phone is cracked. If you open the case, it's like cracked because the glass is cracked. Because like I said, I threw it when I had some anger issues before. I used to get mad about games, like losing games, and then I would just throw stuff because I was just getting like really, really stressed out. He says that because of his anger issues, he also broke his computer. Okay, interesting. The police are like, well, what were you doing Sunday morning? Was he also recovering from some scratches? Did the cat attack everybody? They ask him about the morning that Denise's body was found, the same morning that Levi was in the ER for getting stitches for the cat scratches. And Hunter says, so I went to bed and then I woke up at like 8:30, 8:50, I don't know. And my mom and Levi were gone and I kind of freaked out for a second. And I checked my phone because this was before my phone broke. And she was like, Levi got the cat scratched. So I had to go. So we had to go to the hospital. And then I think I just sat for a while before they got home. And then my mom got home. And then that morning, so we went to bed. I woke up and got those text messages. And then I think I waited a while because
I don't remember if it was just Mom or it was Mom and Lewis who came back home.
So he's just like, I don't really remember. Investigators ask Hunter, has Marshmallow ever scratched anyone before? Like, is that why it's so crazy? No, he's never done anything like that. Does he usually sleep with Levi? No, not usually. That's why I thought maybe he heard something outside and wanted to protect Levi. So Levi sleeps in the living room. So they thought, maybe the cat heard something, freaked out, went to the living room, and then attacks Levi. But Hunter gets sick around this time. So after Levi gets back from the ER from getting those stitches, Levi actually asked to go to his dad's house. And Mom and Hunter think that's actually a good plan because Hunter's throwing up nonstop. He's like so sick. He's having explosive diarrhea. He's vomiting at the same time, and that lasts multiple days. And whatever Hunter has is probably contagious. And with the commotion across the street, it's just a lot going on. Hunter remembers when he was in the bathroom, he does recall seeing some blood on the sink.
Noticed like blood in the bathroom from where he had fallen or anything like that?
Oh yeah, there was like blood on the sink and stuff.
Okay.
But like Mom tried to clean it up, but there was still a little bit of blood after. So we just saw blood after because I started puking, and then we spent a long time in the bathroom. And then she was like, "Oh my God, Lewis got blood everywhere. I forgot to clean up some of this." I was like, "Okay." So and then I think it's gone now.
Okay. Was it like a lot of blood or a little bit of blood?
A little bit of blood.
It's interesting because the over-explaining can come off suspicious for both parties, but I do feel like it's understandable when you realize they're both true crime documentary watchers. And this is actually something that I've thought about in a lot more recent cases, because I had this like run-in with a police officer recently. Like nothing was happening. There was no like case or anything. But I just remember I was like looking for where the body cam was on his body while I was talking to him about something completely unrelated, because it's just interesting. Now that I watch so much body cam footage, now I feel like I'm looking for body cam cameras because it's something that I think about. And maybe the same thing is happening to Hunter and Levi, because Hunter even states to the police, like, also, me stuttering has nothing to do with like you guys being here, just so you know. He's trying to explain that he just stutters. So now he's like going into this over-explaining territory of like, no, but like I'm trying to be open with you. But then even saying I'm trying to be open with you seems like I'm not trying to be open. Like he's over-explaining
self-analyzing
everything. Yes.
already. Yeah.
He even admits to the police that he watches a lot of body cam videos. Also, he goes back to explain, you know, like the whole thing of like Levi calling himself a narcissist. So he mentions it and he's like, well, I don't think so. And he explains, he's like, Levi is just the one who always says that he, you know, he's always saying that he's this thing when he hasn't been diagnosed with anything like it. Like saying he's probably slightly manipulative, like stuff like that, just because his trauma has made him feel this type of way. Honestly, it's really upsetting for me. Like he knows all the, I don't know, I don't want to call it disorders because I don't think that's what it is, like, but sociopath. It's obviously a very wide range of things, but from sociopaths to narcissists, personality disorders to stuff like that, basically, he knows a lot about them and like what they mean. I think it's because he does a lot of research into it, because he thinks or he knows that he's slightly manipulative, because he's, you know, he has trauma and he's very much so expressive, and we talk about all of our feelings, and I don't know, like we're all going through a lot of therapy.
He's always saying that he's this thing when he hasn't been diagnosed with anything like it. He's probably slightly manipulative, stuff like that. From sociopaths to narcissistic personality disorder, we're all going through a lot of therapy.
So it's almost like now he's just like preemptively telling police things. He's just talking a lot. Mm-hmm. He continues later to say, he's like, Levi is very, very open to us about how he's feeling, the way he feels. Like, I don't want to go in depth about it because, I don't know, I think I'm probably using the wrong word, but I guess, I don't know if it's like I'm incriminating him. I think I'm definitely using the wrong word, but like talking about how he has all this trauma, especially abusive trauma when he was a kid. He certainly has a lot of potential to make somebody who has the mind to do something like that. And I know that because he's talked about all these things.
Wow, what is happening right now?
Yeah, now the investigators are like, what do you mean, all these things? I mean, I know from him because he's told me, because he's done research about it on the internet, like his knowledge about what the difference between sociopath and the other ones, and knowing how, you know, many to kill in order to be a serial killer, and you have to kill people and stuff like that. I think it's just like he's just so happens to have a... Am I allowed to ask you guys anything? Sure. Do you guys have any suspicions? Do you guys think he's a suspect possibly, or am I crazy? Like, is he not a suspect at all? Is this just normal questioning to try and help solve some stuff and I just seem like a crazy person right now?
Do you guys have any suspicions? You guys think he's a suspect? Or am I crazy? Is he not a suspect at all? Is this just normal questioning to try to help solve some stuff and I just seem like a crazy person right now?
Is he feeling connecting the dot in that moment?
It seems like from the beginning, he's just like yapping, and he's an oversharer. Yeah. And then as he's yapping, he's like explaining, well, my brother would never do this. I know he has some traumatic incidents in his childhood, which also watching true crime documentaries, I know that can make someone more like capable of doing something like this. So it's almost like he's like analyzing. So you know how people will be like, oh, the 3 trademarks of a serial killer, the dark triad of the personality, right? Like it's almost like he's studied that. And as he's explaining Levi and why Levi could never do something, because I think he walked in there thinking the police suspect Levi because of the cat scratches. Mm-hmm. And it seems like he's trying to clear his brother's name. Yeah. But as he's talking, he's almost getting more and more going down the rabbit hole.
What's Levi's childhood trauma? Did they explain or not really?
Yes. So he explained that his grandfather on his mother's side is in jail for heavy abuse. I believe his mom was a victim of her own father, and maybe other family members were victims. Wow. But it seems to be related to childhood trauma in probably the worst way possible. police just reassure him, you don't seem like a crazy person. Some of the stuff that you said makes sense. And I don't know, maybe this is a way for them to just keep him talking, and Hunter clarifies, am I sitting here because he has those scratches on his face and because it looks like he's a potential suspect? Or am I just here to like clear some things? Like it has nothing to do with him possibly being the person who did that thing. I would say there's inconsistencies with what we know versus what you guys said yesterday, and we're going to get more information hopefully. And it's interesting to watch because it appears that Hunter goes through weird stages. So the first stage is just explaining, and almost like the true crime explaining of like, I watched the body cam footage, I know that we look suspicious, but I'm gonna tell you why we're not suspicious, and like now me over explaining feels suspicious, like now I'm stuttering and you think that's suspicious. And then it goes to him being like, I know my brother has all the things that could make him possible, but like, and then he's like, wait, am I doing too much? Like, I don't even know why I'm here. Why are we talking? Yeah. Like, he lost the plot, right? So he's like, do you guys suspect him or not, right?
Yeah.
And they say this vague language of like, well, we're just trying to get more information. And that's when Hunter starts defending his twin. And he's like, well, his cat scratches seem like cat scratches. And the cat has been acting weird.
Yeah, the cat was acting weird. He's been acting weird the past few days because we've been moving stuff around. So it's completely understandable that he'd freak out.
He's just like a very, very, very needy cat. And Coco, our other cat, was a kitten when we got her. So she was just born for like a few weeks. But Marshmallow was a year old. So it's possible he had some trauma, and that's why he's very, very needy. And just now he's somewhat gotten used to us after, I don't know, like a year or two. And then all of a sudden we start moving stuff around. So it's completely understandable that he would freak out. But to me, it's completely understandable that the cat attacked him because he freaked out because he was sleeping next to him and he woke up. And he tells the investigators, because it's clear the investigators feel like his twin brother had something to do with it. Hunter tells them, I don't think he did it because, like, I feel he's told me many times, like, he's a very open person. He doesn't have the capacity to do something like that.
He doesn't have the capacity to do something like that. I don't feel he has the capacity to do something like that. And if he did, and he did it impulsively, he would not be acting so, oh, I don't care afterwards. Most kids, if they killed somebody, they would tell their parents. Unless they just didn't think it mattered at all.
Now, interesting information to sit on. Investigators who are also in Levi's room have a very different approach from Hunter's. It could just be that Hunter appears to be a bit more talkative and open to give out information without being asked, whereas Levi seems to give out a lot of information, but only when he's pressed on it. Once the officer is done reading Levi his Miranda rights, he needs to clarify and make sure 13-year-old Levi gets it. With these in mind, do you want to have a conversation with me?
With these in mind, do you want to have a conversation with me?
Well, I guess it states that I can quit having a conversation with you. I'm not sure what this is like necessarily about.
Do you know what we're investigating? I mean, I know something happened on the street, across the street in front of me. Right. A woman was murdered, right? So we're trying to find out what happened. Okay? So that's what we're investigating. The investigators ask him to walk them through Saturday night. And like, the wording is weird. Levi says they all went to sleep. Quote, so we all went to sleep, and then honestly it seemed pretty normal.
None of us really woke up for a couple hours. Neither of them did.
How does
Exactly.
Yeah, why would you speak for your
Yeah. And then I think at like 2:30 maybe, 2:30 in the morning or 2, I'm not sure, in that time area, my cat had randomly woke me up with all the lights off, like sitting on my neck. He says that Marshmallow is sitting on his neck, and he decides that he's going to freak out on Levi. Levi says that he gets scratched by the family cat Marshmallow. He starts cleaning himself up. He goes to the bathroom. Quote, there was a lot of scratches on me.
And then I just spent 3 hours maybe, or a long time, trying to fix myself up.
3 hours?
Yeah. And to give some context, fixing myself up, or the reason why I didn't ask my mom or my brother or wake them up, is because we were literally about to do photos that day. Family photos for the house, because they're going to sell the house. He explains, I don't want to be this kid that's constantly waking people up or being an annoyance when they're trying to sleep. So I just try to clean myself up the best I could. I try to clean up my face. He also scratched my neck. Then I decided to take a shower because I was like, that's probably the best thing I'm going to do. So I took a shower and I spent 30 minutes in there, a long time, and tried to see what was going on. And how do I explain it? The shower sprayer, so the handheld shower sprayer, is kind of reflective. So I was trying to see what was going on, and I was like, okay, well, holy shit, this is really bad. He states He's in the bathroom for 3 hours. He's showering for like 30 minutes. All of this seems like an awfully lengthy amount of time. But maybe it's just late at night. He doesn't really know how long it was. Maybe it wasn't 3 hours. Maybe it was 30 minutes. It just felt like 3 hours. The officers ask him what he wears to bed, because that should also have some cat scratches. I don't wear anything to bed. Nude? He sleeps in the living room. Couch, nude.
He sleeps in the living room?
Yeah, he's been sleeping in the living room recently. So he's just sleeping in the living room nude. He says he has some sheets and there was some blood on his t-shirt that he uses under his pillow. So he uses like a t-shirt as a pillow, and he has some blood on there from when the cat scratched him. This is all very weird. Now back to the shower. So he's in the shower and he explains, because of my disability as well, I use like a shower chair.
Usually, because of my disability as well, I use like a shower chair. I didn't use the shower chair because I didn't want to make a bunch of noise and make anybody up.
Right.
So I ended up literally fell and like hit my head on the shower hose.
He says the shower chair is outside the bathroom and he didn't bring it in himself because I'm also not like really strong enough to do that, so I never do that. Is it heavy? Yeah, it's pretty heavy. Well, not that heavy. Just like I know it's too heavy for me to have enough strength to pick it up. The police are a little confused because, like, why not just tell your mom at this point? He keeps mentioning the house photos and the detectives are like, well, you're not in the house photos. I know, but I don't want to have to like wake her up and have her tired or have her be annoyed that I was getting her up super early and it was like 2:30. Now, by all means, it seems like Becca is not the type of mom to be upset. So the bleeding kind of stops and Levi decides to just try and eat and watch some YouTube. But he says, I was doing that, and as I was watching YouTube, I was super exhausted.
Feeling like honestly like shit because I barely got any sleep. I was just like, I don't know what to do. I know I can't, go to sleep in this state. And so I started crying, honestly, kind of loud.
He says he starts crying so loudly, that's what wakes his mom up. And it's just interesting, like his body language to watch in there. Like he'll yawn in the middle of a sentence and it's not a pause. It's not like he's pausing and getting bored and yawning, which would already be alarming in a police interrogation. But he'll just be talking about how he wanted to eat and watch some TV after he cleaned himself up. So he's like, I'm just going to sit down and eat and watch some TV. And then I ate. It could be the stress of the interrogation, not that he's guilty. It's just a stressful thing to be in a crowded room with two investigators as a 13-year-old having no idea where the lawyer is or where your mom is, but it's weird. At this point, it's like 5:30 a.m. He says, thankfully, once he started crying, his mom came down the stairs and was like, are you okay? He says, no, not really, and I was still crying, and she told me not to cry because that would make it worse. And then something to make this situation more funny, quote unquote, as soon as she went in the kitchen, she opened the cabinet and got the Band-Aids. So this entire time that I looked for Band-Aids for like 30 minutes, it was right there in the kitchen. But when he gets back to the house after going to the ER, he says that he was super emotionally triggered. He says the cat had scratched him. He starts seeing investigators outside, ambulances outside across the street, and he just wanted to go to his dad's for a few days, even though that was never part of the original schedule.
But you didn't know what was wrong with Denise.
Yeah, I just thought that it's just crazy it was crazy in my mind, and I started assuming, like what had happened.
What did you think happened? I don't know, I just thought, you thought it was a coincidence? I didn't think it was a coincidence. I was just jumping to conclusions. Mom was like, she probably just had an accident or she fell over. And I was like, hopefully. I was like, yeah. And even this right now is honestly starting to make me feel kind of emotionally triggered. When you get triggered, does it ever make you angry? No, just makes me sad. Or like hyper emotional. So it made me feel like really gross that something else had happened and I was already in an emotionally triggered state. So I kind of felt like really sick to my stomach, and I felt really gross having to think about what if something happened to somebody right next to me or the house right in front of me, and it made me feel really sad and I started crying even worse. Hunter didn't even know what to do, so I decided to go upstairs so I could try and stop thinking about it, but I didn't like having to think about something else was happening, so I didn't have to feel worse. It's just weird. So he asks his dad to pick him up so that he doesn't have to think about something else happening to somebody while something had happened to him. And there's just a lot of cop cars, and he stays there for probably a week trying to feel better until he comes back. Have you ever been in Denise's house? Levi responds, neither my mom, my brother, or me have ever been in that house, or even close, other than, I guess, walking distance. But he does mention that Hunter, his brother, would mow lawns over the summer. But Levi isn't sure whose lawns he mowed. At some point, he mentions, I heard my mom and my brother loves true crime or something. He's very investigative. He tried to search up the audio. I didn't hear it, or I guess they said that there was like a 911 call, I guess. They, or my mom said that maybe she had been raped, or that somebody said that it looked like she had been raped, which in my mind doesn't really feel like self-defense if it was rape.
Doesn't feel like self-defense?
Yeah.
What doesn't feel like self-defense?
So the investigators are like, well, we don't really know what happened to Denise. Maybe someone went in there and Denise attacked them. Like, maybe it was self-defense. And he's like, well, if she was raped, it wasn't self-defense. And it's just a lot of weird conversations happening. And at some point, the investigator says he's just trying to wrap his brain around this. Like, the investigator's like, I'm just trying to wrap my brain around this entire case. I don't know how it happened. There's 2 people there, but I don't know how it happened, and I'm just trying to figure it out. Levi responds, could have been 3 people. I don't know.
There's 2 people there, but I don't know how it happened. And I'm just trying to figure it out.
Could have been 3 people. I don't know.
I mean, there could have been more people there. Was there?
I don't know.
That's a crazy response.
Well, I mean, yeah, there could have been more people. You know, they can't rule out the possibilities, but investigators believe that there was only 1 person involved and they need to know which person it was. And so far, it's looking like Levi is the one they're most suspicious of, especially with the cat scratches, until they find out that there could be a chance that he's not capable of being the killer. Investigators find out that Levi has cerebral palsy, which is a group of movement and posture disorders. Cerebral being the brain and palsy being weakness or problems with movement. So usually this forms from an injury in parts of the brain that control the muscles. So it's not from the muscles themselves, but it's from the brain that controls the muscles. Now, investigators have to figure out if Levi's CP would make it so that it would be impossible for him to carry out an essay in murder. And there's just a lot of people that live with CP that live completely normal lives where they play intense sports, where it's actually encouraged to play sports for a lot of people living with that condition. And they live, you wouldn't even know that they have CP. But then on the other side, you do have people where it greatly impacts everything that they do. And it does make it very difficult for them to do things that an able-bodied person would be able to do easily.
So they found out during this interrogation, or?
Yes. And they don't know where on that scale Levi is. Hunter and Levi's mom, Becca, is in the waiting area of the police station. So she's been brought out from the room where they kept telling her to eat the Raising Cane's. They bring her out, and the twins' dad, Kyle, has since joined. And they're both just wanting answers. Why can't they get the twins? Why can't the twins come out? Why can't they get the twins a lawyer? What the hell are the investigators talking to them about without them or the lawyers present? When there is a situation where identical twin DNA is involved, the best thing investigators can do is look for evidence that's not DNA related. And they find it under Denise's body. The investigators come out to talk to Becca and Kyle, and they tell them it's not that they randomly targeted the twins. It's that, quote, I don't know what in the world happened. We're not talking to him anymore. I mean, he doesn't want to really talk anymore. I don't know what happened. We have a lot of other evidence too.
Okay, I don't know what in the world happened. I mean, I can presume. I'm trying. We're not talking to him anymore. I mean, he doesn't want to really talk anymore. I don't know what happened.
You can keep talking.
Well, we have a lot of other evidence too.
She says, I don't know. They tell her it's not just the DNA. There's some certain things we're going to tell you that we have that are bad, okay? That watch that we showed you that belongs to one of the twins was under her body.
All right, that watch that we showed you was under her body.
What?
Becca starts freaking out. She starts sobbing, alternating between putting her head in her hands to holding her chest. She's pacing the area. She seems like she can't sit still. She doesn't really even know what to do with this information, it appears. Eventually she asks,
what happens now? He's only 13. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god.
Eventually, she's on the floor, and she even apologizes to the investigators for being rude earlier. Out of all the suspects and perpetrators' parents, Becca seems like maybe one of the few that really tried her best. If you get the full FOIA file like we did, there is a lot of unredacted information that I didn't include because I don't know how relevant it is, but Hunter talks to investigators of how much their family has gone through, and it does appear that Becca has really tried to shield her sons from anything that could have happened. The fact that she regularly puts them in therapy, encourages them to talk about their feelings. They even found her journal where she writes about how she's trying to parent. And by all accounts, it seems like she genuinely is a good parent. The fact that she's been trying to be helpful this entire investigation, the fact that she is apologizing to being rude to the investigators, which in reality, I honestly think that she was still just protecting her children. There's really nothing to apologize for. She never behaved in a way that made it feel like she was enabling her kids or shielding them from consequences or not participating in the investigation. But when she's told it's her son's DNA, his watch, and they found a piece of a green nitrile glove at the scene and a box of the same green nitrile gloves in his closet. They've also found a pair of bloody LL Bean boots located in his room with visible staining. And now one of the twin brothers is going to find out that his brother is guilty as well. The officers leave Levi's interview room about an hour in to let him finish his food and really sit with his thoughts. And when they come back in, the first question they ask him is, hey, do you think sometimes people do something that they regret, that is out of character for themselves? Do you think they do something and they kind of get scared and they don't want to talk to or tell anyone about it? They ask him how his DNA ended up at Denise's house. Levi asks, well, how's in my blood? That's what we're trying to figure out.
So we're trying to figure out, and I want you to help me explain this, okay, why your blood would be in Denise's house.
I don't know, how is it my blood?
That's what we're trying to find out.
They tell him that they took his DNA swabs and they compared it to the DNA in the house and Denise's house, and it's not only Denise's blood, but his blood is mixed in with it. He doesn't seem wowed. He just asks, well, how does that work? Well, everybody's DNA is unique. Everybody has different DNA. Everybody. It's like fingerprints. Nobody has the same fingerprints in the whole world. Even brothers? Even brothers.
Everybody had different DNA. Everybody. It's unique to one person.
Everybody's unique.
That's like fingerprints. Nobody has the same fingerprints in the whole world.
Even brothers.
Even brothers.
Now, the match to the DNA was to both of them, but it's interesting that that's his response.
Yeah.
And I think that's just what the investigators are trying to get at. When DNA is brought up again, he says, I guess everybody's is unique. I just mean my brother is literally, my twin. I don't know how that would happen to begin with, how my blood would be at her house.
I guess everybody's is unique. I just mean because my brother is literally, my twin. I just don't know how that would happen to begin with, how my blood would be in her house.
If Levi says it's not his blood, then whose blood is it? And there's one interesting thing that Levi says. The investigators do the whole, we think whatever happened here is not malicious. We think it's a stupid mistake and that everyone needs to be honest so that we can talk about it. But when they say that, Levi responds, I don't think that murder is stupid, though.
I don't think that murder is stupid, so I don't.
Which is an interesting response.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of odd. Back at the house, there's a search warrant being executed, and investigators find Marshmallow sitting very calmly, just hanging out. What stops investigators, though, is not just that Marshmallow is incredibly calm and the demeanor of Marshmallow is very approachable, which Marshmallow doesn't seem that stressed out about this move. Even the fact that officers are in there just flipping up the house, looking for evidence. When officers approach, he flops over so they can pet his tummy, and that is when they notice that his claws are too small to make the injuries on Levi's face, even if Marshmallow were pissed off.
What does that mean?
The scratch mark on his nose to get 5 stitches, they're saying his claws specifically are too small.
Interesting. Okay.
Which, that's what they say. They find in the drawer of the left nightstand of a bed, Confessions of a Serial Killer, the book, and a brown leather journal that just reads on the first page. Okay, so on the very first page, it has Levi's name on there. And the second page reads, I will kill you. KKK Killer. And in big, chunky, blocky letters, the last page of that notebook has a handwritten instruction page on how to balance on one leg. It reads, stand with both feet planted firmly on the ground. Next, slowly raise one of your feet and stand with all your body weight on the opposite leg. You should be balanced on one leg. Reach your raised foot forward, which points to it being Levi because he was working on his mobility.
I see.
Having the right tools makes all the difference when you're starting your own business. Don't know where to start? Start with Shopify. Shopify's design and launch tools allow anyone to open a storefront that reflects their business while also remaining user-friendly. You can build a stunning website fast with Shopify's templates and AI tools, no coding required. And if questions come up along the way, Shopify has this built-in AI assistant, Sidekick, ready to help you build, troubleshoot, and keep moving. Shopify works for all shapes and sizes of businesses, online or face-to-face. At markets and pop-ups, you're joining millions of entrepreneurs who have already taken this leap, from recognizable brands to people who were exactly where you are now, just months ago, including us. Our first launch with Shopify was for Grandpa Mango's art studio. It was basically our first small business experience, and Shopify made business beginner friendly. It was the best. It was so easy, so much so that we actually have something very special in the works, again, that we're really excited to share. We're going to be announcing it soon. I know we've been talking about it for a while, but all you need really with Shopify is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. If you're serious about hearing your first ka-ching, start your free trial at shopify.com/rotten today. You heard that right. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/rotten. That's shopify.com/rotten. But it's not just the journal, it's what's on Levi's phone versus what's on Hunter's phone. On his devices, he's talking to someone on TikTok and Levi messages them. I have very low empathy, which has been confirmed. Also, my plan, I'm on track. Found my MO. He takes screenshots of serial killers' MOs, their psychological analysis, equipment used for transport, body disposal, naming, possible planning, execution methods, body dump sites, clothing, appearances. There are several photos of Levi of himself that he's taken, like selfies, where he's choking himself and taking a photo. Which, okay, I looked into it and it seems like sometimes people with very morbid interest who want to see what someone would look like dead will sometimes Google pictures, but then maybe it's not good enough, so then they'll like... In other messages to unknown TikTok users, he's messaging about how he has a severe lack of empathy, he likes hurting animals in his childhood, and I guess this person tells him that he could never hurt a fly. Like, I don't think you could ever hurt a fly. Levi responds, I've killed animals before on my own with a knife. You're right, I probably couldn't hurt a fly though, because they're too fast for me. He states that he doesn't kill while he hunts. He says, I don't go hunting. And he's talking about killing. He says, cats, dogs, some squirrels. Then he sends a message that reads, trying to understand my own problems. Are you sadistic at all? I'm fairly curious. Not too long after, he Googles causes of being sadistic. Then he takes screenshots of information of how serial killers subdue their victims before killing them, as well as how to strangle someone and how long that process takes, which Denise was found smothered to death. And the night of the murder, authorities are able to track Becca, Hunter, and Levi's phones. 12:53 a.m., Hunter plugs in his phone into the charger and locks his phone screen. 2:12 a.m., Levi locks his phone. 2:19 a.m., Hunter locks his phone. Then from 2:30 to 2:52 a.m., Levi's on his phone using his camera, but we don't get any other information from that.
Wait, what's happening? So at 2 o'clock-ish, both brothers lock their phone?
Yeah, like as in like it just shows that they turned off their phone. Like, you know, they can track when you unlock your phone, lock your phone.
So they were both awake around that time? Okay. And Levi turned on the camera for how long?
2:30 to 2:52 a.m.
20 minutes.
5:21 a.m., he unlocks his phone again and starts searching up Fairfax, Ohio Police Department. Fairfax, Ohio Police Department photos. Then later, when Levi goes to his dad's house, he starts Googling again, Fairfax, Ohio photos, Fairfax, Ohio Police Department photos, Fairfax, Ohio Police Department. Does Ohio have restrictions on using familial DNA searches? What was Ted Bundy's diagnosis? What was Ted Bundy's kill kit? Fairfax, Ohio woman found dead. Fairfax, Ohio woman found dead. What was Ted Bundy kill kit?
Why do you think he's searching about kill kit?
I don't know.
After the fact.
Maybe
there's more curiosity.
Yeah. Then he sends a message to someone on TikTok a few days after the murder. I'm probably going to get caught. And then deletes that message. Then there's more searches on Google. Saliva drug tests, saliva swabs, juvenile detention center, Cincinnati, Hamilton County Youth Center, ways cops mess with you in the interview, ways cops mess with you in the interview room. 2 hours later after that search, Hunter and Levi are called in for police interviews. Meanwhile, on Hunter's phone, they find messages between Hunter and Becca. They do a full search of Hunter's phone. Becca is texting him that she's in the ER with Levi. Be careful around Marshmallow. Why? He's being feisty about the house moving around. Okay, he's trying to hug me right now, LOL. Part of the reason we're in the ER is because Marshmallow was sleeping on Levi's face and then startled each other and he got scratched on his face. He took a shower and slipped and hit his face on the tile. Oh, yikes. If he gets moody, just get up and walk away from him and keep him away from your face. It seems like all of the digital evidence, Hunter, like his phone did break. He was sick in the bathroom. There's no messages. There's no weird Google searches. His phone was off during the time of the crime. Whereas Levi is Googling a lot of the Fairfax, Ohio. So Hunter, it seems he did look up the case, but in the very normal way of like, what's going on? Like local news reporting.
Yeah.
And with Hunter, it seems like at first investigators wanted to know if they were both involved, but primarily they suspected Levi in the beginning. But after seeing Hunter's reaction to everything, it just didn't strike them that he would be involved. But more importantly, aside from DNA matching, because he and Levi are the same DNA, there's really zero evidence tying him to being involved at all. I mean, there's nothing in his phone, his journals, there's nothing in his room, there's nothing on his face or body to indicate any scratches. And he also doesn't believe that his brother is involved. Hunter tells the investigators, I'm sure from your head and the other investigators, you guys were probably thinking about, like, of course, he has scratches on his face. He left the house. He had to go to the hospital. All that stuff that we told you, you know, is very much so corresponding to what happened. And I just want you guys to know that I have no faith that my brother would be able to do something like that. Like, I don't know if you guys know, I don't know if this is spreading too much information, but our family have gone through some very, very traumatic things.
Our family have gone through some very, very, very traumatic things. Also, having a very traumatic childhood could make somebody be able to do something like that. So again, that's another thing that's, I feel, is just a coincidence. Way too many coincidences, like his face being scratched and him going through traumatic experiences. So it's completely possible that, I don't know.
And there's just so many times Hunter looks like he's seeing the coincidences that are forming, but he stops himself. And he continues, I don't know, like in a different universe, he did that, right? But personally, I believe, I thought about it, I imagined it because I'm a very imaginative person. I imagined like, what if Levi made up this story of scratching his face and then what actually happened?
What actually happened was like, oh, he snuck out at night and did that horrible thing. But that was just like, I didn't actually believe that that's something you could do. Like after I imagined that, I was like, no.
All three of us are very, 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 we express our feelings very much so. I know that he has a lot of trauma. He's basically saying, I know Levi has a lot of trauma, but we all talk about our feelings. Like we're very open. We're all in therapy. Like that's not how we do it. He even says the day after Levi got back from the hospital, remember he went to go stay with his dad, Hunter says that the reason was because he was triggered. And I know that sounds suspicious, but and it seems like Hunter has another moment and then he stops talking. He says that Levi told him he just wanted to leave the house because,
I don't know if he's just upset about getting the cat scratched in the face, but it's just like this house. He was crying and he was like, just this house just makes me feel like traumatized. I don't know, I feel like that traumatized feeling, I'm not feeling traumatized. That's the words he used.
I don't know, I'm just gonna keep saying this, but this makes me feel really upset because a lot of evidence is piled up against him. But I mean, I don't know if you guys suspect him of anything, but I truly don't believe that he could do anything like that, even though he has all these things. He's never talked about anything like that with you, about hurting somebody when he gets triggered? No, he doesn't, like, he doesn't behave weirdly when triggered. He's just quiet. It's upsetting for him. He started crying when we got back to the house because he said he never gave us an explanation to why he was triggered.
I'm sure you guys can't tell me whether or not you're suspecting him. I'm just gonna tell you right now, I don't believe it. It's not possible.
Did he say something to you?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's not possible he would be able to do something like that.
Hunter says it doesn't make sense because even after the investigators came and took their DNA, he says, I mean, we joked about it. I like, how does it feel having your DNA in the system now? Because he would say, he's told me that he doesn't think he would be a serial killer when he's older because it just doesn't make sense to me because that's just stupid. He also says that he has immense capacity for empathy for us. It's just slightly less than for other people.
What?
So Hunter is saying like he has empathy for his family. There's no way that he could be a killer. Hunter mentions Levi would talk about how he feels like hurting people sometimes. He feels empty and he feels violent. He's never acted on any of that. He hasn't had any impulses to kill somebody. I don't know for how long. I just know that for the last year, it's been brought up to me. I don't know how long he and mom have been talking about it. I mean, I've been like for my whole life, a very, very happy child because I think me and Levi process our trauma very differently, you know, while growing our brains. I don't know how differently. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know how differently. I don't know if...
Hunter says that he feels like What if he's being crazy? Which means nothing is happening, but Levi will know that Hunter suspected him almost, which means that Levi would never talk to him again, because if that were Hunter, he would never talk to his twin brother, because the betrayal of suspecting your brother of being a killer would be too much. But also, if he did do it, then they need to know. And Hunter says, he said multiple times he's not stupid enough to do that. So it's not like he's been acting erratically these past few days after he got scratched by the cat. He's been acting pretty much normal. He just only acts slightly weird whenever I bring up the thing, which makes sense. The thing that happened across the street? Yeah. He's disabled. He's very transparent to us and his therapist about the way he feels. Also, the doctors would have realized it and said something like, they don't look like cat scratches if they weren't cat scratches. Like, I don't remember what it's called, but they said like a plastic surgeon came down and stitched his nose to make it look better. Wouldn't the nurses or doctors have had suspicions? Because surely you'd be able to realize that something was a human's nail or a cat scratch. He later leans back and he's almost like looking off to the side as if he's replaying the last few days in his head. There's just no way.
There's just no way. Obviously, there's no way he wouldn't tell me or tell somebody if he did do that. Like, he just goes on with his day. Like, I know murderers can do that, but like, him? I don't believe it.
I don't know why the investigators decide that they want to be the ones to break it down for Hunter. Like, maybe they want to see his reaction. Maybe they want to see if he's going to tell them something else to confirm whose belongings these are. I don't know. But they show him like a very zoomed up picture of Levi's watch. And it's on a tablet. It's clearly a crime scene photo, but it's so zoomed in that you wouldn't know.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that? What do I think about? What do I think about that? He's just looking at the picture of the watch. He's like, what do you want me to think about? It's just my brother's watch.
Mm-hmm.
Here, let me widen it out. They zoom out. What do you think that's the picture of? He starts like, I guess, hyperventilating. You don't hear it on the body cam, but the officer tells him to take a deep breath. And he says, we don't have any of those blankets. Right. That's not your house.
Try to take some deep breaths, okay?
We don't have any of those blankets.
Right. It's not your house.
How does the watch in the struggle was...
It was broken. No, I remember him saying that he lost his watch. And when did he say that? After he got home from the ER. I don't remember him talking about it. And then when he left, he came back and he said he doesn't know where he put his watch. But Hunter is still defending his brother. The way he sounded... I don't know, like...
I don't feel a person would say that. A person would say it that way, knowing that, they wore their watch if they did that.
They show Hunter a picture of a knife that he's never seen before, and he tries to tell investigators that's not the knife that they have inside their house. There's just no way he did it. Like, someone had to have planted his watch or something, only proof that you could give me is if you find his sperm DNA, and if I'm right about her apparently being raped, because it was on the news... Only thing I can believe, I'll tell you this right now, that's not a possibility. The way he acted after that happened, after he saw the ambulance, he was like, why is the ambulance outside? There's no way that he could fake all of that so correspondingly to the point where I could see none of it. I didn't see any of the cracks, none of it. He faked all of his emotions. Hunter later tries to say, maybe that's not even his watch. He says, there's no way that my brother, there's no way someone in my family, even though, all I'm going to say is I don't believe it. I'm going to say that I think there needs to be more evidence. I think there needs to be more evidence to convict him. I think there needs to be more evidence. I know you probably haven't shown me all the evidence, but that can't be enough evidence. I know there's all these coincidences just stacked up against him, but there's no way. I mean, my brain really goes off topic. I just thought, what if he lost his watch at Dad's? And this is all just some sort of misunderstanding and Dad finds it. Or he really did just miss his watch. He really did just accidentally forget where his watch is. And I made a mishap and I said that's his watch, even though that's not his watch. And you guys show him that photo and he'll probably say no, that's not my watch. Do you guys think that's his watch? Yes. Do you guys think that he did this? Yeah. You're fully convinced? Yeah. We haven't gotten into everything, but that's why we're here. And he starts breaking down.
Do you guys think that's his watch?
Yes.
Yes.
You guys think that he did this?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're fully convinced?
Yes.
Yes. We haven't gotten into everything, but that's why we're here.
And he screams, no, it's not possible. And he starts frantically asking, are you saying he purposefully hurt? And then he goes back to, there's no way he would do that. Even if he did kill her, there's no way he's the one who raped her. He's not that type of person. On top of that, I don't believe for a second. I
think what's happening is there was a really, really, really meticulously planned, smart person who planted that watch there, and had been planning this for a while. And it just so happens that Lewis has a lot of traumatic experiences, and he grabbed our knife, and he took our watch, and they did that.
He also tries to reason with the investigators because he read on the news that whoever did this, they referred to him as a man. And he's like, and Levi's not a man. Fox 19 said that he was a man. He says the chances that this is his twin brother's doing is slim to none. I have no belief that Levi doesn't have the capacity to rape and kill somebody purposefully, willingly, harmfully, having the person fight back. And also, how would mom not find out about it? And if she did find about it, why the fuck would she hide it? She's not the type of person to hide it. Which I do agree with. There's no way he's stupid enough to leave his own watch. On top of that, use our knives. He's a very smart and calculated person. He knows what he's doing. He's not stupid enough. I mean, maybe on drastic circumstances, he was very, very impulsive. He really felt like killing someone. He had no other weapons. He could have just gone into her house and stole one of her knives. Like, is he faking his empathy for us? Does he not actually care about any of us? Is that the reality we're facing here? Is the reality that I'm facing here is that my loving brother for my whole life, my brother that I've cared for and cared for me, and my mom has cared for and spent and dedicated her life to helping this person live. And then he asks if his brother is going to jail and what the chances are that he won't. And he puts his head down and he cries, "There's no way. It's not possible. There has to be someone who bloodied the evidence. There has to be some misunderstanding." And he keeps asking, "Are you being 100% with me? This is true? This is true? This is true?" They tell him that his brother's DNA was at the scene and his head falls onto the table. When Levi is confronted with the fact that his watch and DNA were found in Denise's home, they try to tell him, "You just seem like just a young man. I mean, I'm a young boy. I'm barely a teenager."
You just seem like just a young man.
I mean, I'm a young boy.
Yeah, I know. So I'm just trying
barely a teenager.
Sometimes young boys make mistakes.
So they're trying to get him to confess. And there's just a lot of odd moments throughout his interviews. Like when they ask why he went to stay at his dad's house, he says that it was triggering. And then there's moments where back and forth. This whole interview is like an hour and a half. Well, the whole body cam footage is like 2 hours long, right? But it's this weird back and forth of him trying to appear dumber than he is, or at least that's what my take of it. And then him appearing way smarter than he is, or trying to appear smart. It's like this weird back and forth. So he talks about how he was doing his math homework at his dad's house, right? What kind of math? I don't know how to describe it. It's like trying to measure things, like how long this would be, geometry? I guess so, yeah.
Right. What kind of math is it?
I don't know how to describe it. It's like trying to measure things, like how long this would be at this.
Geometry?
I guess so, yeah.
Okay.
He weirdly doesn't know the name of basic things, okay? But he also says that he doesn't know if he went to the hospital to get the stitches. He just knows somewhere where there's doctors. Okay, and then he says, and then she was telling me that we're going to urgent care. And I was like, so this is that urgent? I can tell. It feels like he mentioned he doesn't know where he's going, somewhere with doctors, like trying to appear dumb. And then he mentions that his mom said we're going to urgent care. And then he is like, oh, so I was like, oh, this is urgent. It's just weird. I can't tell if he's trying to cover up for the fact that he just said he didn't know where they went, but then said urgent care, or if he really doesn't know what urgent care is. It feels more like the former. He reiterates again, like, I didn't know this thing was that urgent.
Thing was that urgent.
It's like a weird thing to say. It's just a lot to cover up for the fact that I feel like he knew it was urgent care, but that's just my feeling, right? But then later he will talk about how he slipped in the shower again, and he says, yeah, I slipped and I hit like the shower sprayer. Right? So it's like
just naming things differently.
Yes. But then when the investigators look a little skeptical, he'll expand on that and he'll say, I guess let me articulate it better. I was holding the shower sprayer, I guess, whatever it's called, like I usually do, because I was only holding it. I slipped and I felt like this, and I guess I hit it, and I guess it hit the wall. He does start like cracking his knuckles immediately after. And then he further explains, like, I don't know how to make it make sense, but yeah, that's what happens when I fell. And well, because I'm disabled, I was more likely to fall. I don't know if you're aware of that. I've told you I'm aware of your illness. It's not an illness. It's a disability. Disability, right. That's fair.
Yep, I am aware of your illness.
It's not an illness, it's a disability.
Disability. All right, fair.
It's so interesting. Like this, and then he goes back and forth between, again, trying to appear dumb and then trying to appear smart. For example, like I said, he doesn't know geometry, he doesn't know urgent care, but then suddenly when he's asked about why his blood is at Denise's house, he starts saying, I don't know what explanation I could give you or even come up with that would be equivalent to how that would happen. Well, I guess it would make sense if there was like a blood transfusion, but that wouldn't make any sense because I haven't had any blood transfusions. And maybe I'm just reeling from the literacy crisis, but like, how do you not know the word geometry when you're taking a geometry course for school, but you know what a blood transfusion is? And like, technically, I mean, I guess it could maybe apply technically in this case if he were to donate blood and Denise had gotten a blood transfusion and coincidentally happened to be from the kid across the street, Levi's blood. But standard transfusions are packed with red blood cells, which don't actually contain DNA. So like, this is like random food for thought, okay?
Really?
Yeah, so standard blood transfusions are mainly red blood cells. They don't contain the DNA. But if some donor white cells slip in, it's super small in a quantity. So like when you spill blood or like blood drips out of you and the DNA is collected, there's going to be such few white donor blood cells that it's highly unlikely that anybody else's DNA is going to come up even if you've had a blood transfusion recently. And white blood cells are typically cleared by the body's immune system within days to weeks. So it's a very short window. Now, there are certain people who get white blood cell transfers, but those are really rare and like just really rare. The only other time that this could maybe happen where Levi's DNA would be there, even though he had no blood transfusion, but let's say he did, is if Denise had a lot of blood transferred into her system, right? Maybe then donor DNA could be detectable in the recipient. But again, if you had that much blood, like that massive of a transfusion, you're talking like major trauma surgery. You're going to be in the hospital for days until that clears and that DNA is no. Anyway, no, it doesn't apply. But the fact that he doesn't know geometry, but he's wondering about blood transfusions is kind of odd to me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think you could maybe find donor DNA in like a bone marrow stem cell transplant. What are we doing here? Like, that's not the point. The point is, why are we taking a journey down the lane of hypotheticals when you don't know what geometry is? Mm-hmm. It's also very odd that he acts like he's too young and uninformed, that he doesn't know geometry, but he offers up all of these other explanations. And the officer straight up tells him, well, it's not a blood transfusion. He says, I think you know. I don't think I know.
I think you know. I know you know.
I don't think I know.
Could you not remember?
I mean, everybody does remember things.
I know.
I barely remember my childhood.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Could you have done something and not remember it?
I think everybody can.
Like even something that would happen a couple weeks ago? Possible?
Maybe. Possible. Anything's possible.
I know. I'm just trying to explain it, man. That's all.
And so the investigator's like, I just need some answers. And he says, well, thank you for explaining it to me. I'm trying to give you the best explanation that I can and come up with ways how we can figure this out. I don't understand it just as much as, well, you probably understand it more than me. Then he offers up the solution of, well, if it's not from a blood transfusion, then could it be from, quote,
did somebody put my blood in that house for a reason?
Oh, I don't know. You tell me. Would they? I didn't put your blood
I don't have any enemies. I mean, I'm only 13. I don't know why anybody would put my blood in a house, but is there any more questions you have for me, or like what?
Do you have any more questions for me, or like, well, I want to get past this, and we're not getting past it. You don't know, I don't know, so we're just not resolving anything. Well, I'm not sure if we can resolve it if I don't know and you don't know. This is like a lot. I don't ever recall being able to speak like this when I was 13. Mm-hmm. Like Hunter, in the idea that I can see where a lot of his over-explaining comes from because he just seems really nervous and then he watched too many body cam videos. Whereas Levi, it's very like...
Yeah.
He also over and under explains. Like he'll over explain about the cat scratching him. But then when he's asked where he hit his head in the shower, he just like palms his face and says like around here. Just like a big surface area. Then he's asked if he knows Denise well, which is a simple either yes or no, or maybe even not really kind of question, maybe like one sentence of context, but he goes to explain in depth.
I just know she's our neighbor. We waved a couple times. Thought he had a dog, but I guess when the special agents came over, they told us that the dog had died like 6 months ago.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I didn't really know her that well. I don't know, I just thought that she just like had a job, like I don't know any normal person. I just mean like I didn't know her a lot. I just thought like this is this person.
Yeah. And then he has like moments where it's almost like a contrarian is trying to slip out of him, which like if you've ever had interactions with someone who must disagree with absolutely everything you say, it's incredibly frustrating and they cannot help it. I guess even in police interviews. So one detective who has been largely quiet throughout the entire interview turns to Levi and says, listen, I wholeheartedly believe that there are two types of people in this world. You've got monsters, you've got people who make mistakes. I think I disagree with that personally. What do you disagree with about that statement? I just think that there's a lot of different types of people in the world. There's not monsters and people who commit mistakes. The officer says, well, I'm just simplifying it for the context of this murder. There's only two types of people that would commit a murder, you know, monsters and people who make mistakes. And Levi responds, well, if it's murder, then it would be a monster, right?
If it's a murder, then it would be a monster, right?
Not necessarily.
You don't think so?
No. I've been...
It's pretty weird.
No, I don't. I think murders can happen many different ways.
Well, I think if it's murder, it would either be self-defense or manslaughter or something like that. Again, you don't know geometry, but you know manslaughter. He even sits like a contrarian, like he's more intrigued at the idea of like a moral dilemma in a debate than he is like getting away with something. The investigator is saying, that's why I'm trying to find an explanation. I can't put words in your mouth. Levi responds, I can't put words in my mouth either. I mean, I can.
But I can't put words in your mouth.
I can't put words in my mouth either.
No, I just want...
I mean, I can.
So weird.
Later, Levi brings up again that maybe there were 3 people in Denise's house instead of 2. And the investigator asks him, was it? I don't know. I've already told you that. I'm just saying possibilities. Possibilities are possibilities. Nothing's impossible, as I've repeated multiple times. And it's interesting at the very end, Levi almost tries to bring his brother down with him, or at least that's how I get a read of his intention, because he says, I don't know why I would lie. I don't know why I would be outside after dark. I don't know why I would even do something like this. He says, I just know I don't see a scenario where me alone or me myself would ever do that.
I don't see a scenario where me alone or me myself would ever do that.
Which is like really weird. He's saying, I would never do this, but also if I did, I would never do it alone. Which I have a theory, and this is just a theory and speculation, that if, like, I know that both of them were into true crime, but that's, I mean, I do think that a lot of people watch true crime documentaries, but it seems that Levi's interest was a lot more in depth. I think the way that Hunter was into it, he's like watching body cam footage on YouTube probably, and he's just like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, look at how this person reacts. But the fact that Levi is looking up all of these, the psychology of killers, it seems a little bit darker. It seems a little bit more in-depth, his curiosity. And I wouldn't be surprised if he did come across cases where identical twin DNA did set killers free, because it has happened before. There have actually been multiple cases where there was like a serial assayer and the 2 twins were brought in and they wouldn't turn each other in. The investigators had hoped that at least one of them would say, oh, well, you know what? I don't want my brother to go down for it. It was me, but they didn't. They even put them in the same room together to see if they would talk about it, but they just made small talk.
And then they were freed?
Yeah, I think that case is gonna go to trial. I think they're trying to use the novel DNA of the sequencing. Or like the genome, like full. So it's interesting that... Yeah, it's just like I wouldn't be surprised if he heard of cases like that and thought that if he kept bringing up his brother, it would end up a situation where nobody would go to jail. The investigator asks,
how about you with somebody else? Could you have been present when something happened?
Maybe. Again, if I just mean, I always say anything is possible. I just mean, Could you have been in the wrong place at the wrong time Sunday morning in February? I don't think so. Again, I don't see how that correlates. I just mean I don't see how I would do that, and I don't see why I would do that. That's all I mean.
Well, that's what we're trying to figure out. Why you would do it.
Why that would happen.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. Could you have been there with somebody else?
Think so.
Well, the I don't think so really bothers me.
I don't like the I guess. Well, I guess you either were or you weren't there.
See, I don't like the I guess. You either were there or you weren't. But we know that you were there. Well, I mean, you can think about my full sentence and say, or, my full wording and say, he said no. I'm just saying, I guess, says that is what I think. I don't have a definitive answer for me to give, and that's why I'm saying I guess, or I'm not, I don't know. But I'm not sure it's possible because I don't have a definitive answer. If I'm going to say no, then in my mind, I'm going to say no, I guess, because I don't have an answer. I don't have a real answer. The investigator straight up tells him, I think you created this version of events and you want it so badly to be the truth, but it's not the truth. I don't think I would want it to be the truth if I wasn't telling you that it was the truth. Like, why would I tell a story if I wanted it to be true? I've never done that. Your version's not the truth. Well, if that's what you think, that's what you think. I've explained to you everything I know in my version of events that I know is correct or that is in my memory. I don't know why you would think I'm lying or why you don't believe me. I mean, my brother's pretty chatty. Pretty what? Chatty? Was your brother with you during that night that you got cut?
I mean, my brother's pretty chatty.
He's pretty what?
Yeah.
Chatty? Was your brother with you up at all during that night you got cut?
Eventually, they don't get a confession, but November 10th of 2025, Levi Cart pleads guilty to aggravated murder, aggravated burglary, and strangulation. He receives the maximum sentence allowed under juvenile law. He will remain in the juvenile detention facility until he turns 21. He is expected to be released in 2033.
Wow.
Yeah. One neighbor told the police during the investigation that whoever did this to Denise needs to receive capital punishment because, quote, you know if he gets out, he's going to do it again. You can't cure that. Other netizens have kind of sounded off online saying, like, that's actually a really dangerous age to release somebody. And I do think, watching his interrogation video, it seems like if he's that equipped at responding to the police the way he did at 13, I can't imagine how much more fine-tuned that's going to get in a cutthroat environment such as a juvenile detention center. I imagine your capacity to learn how to adjust and survive in situations like that will make you only that much more cunning and evasive. I mean, it was such a strange case to see. I think it's interesting that the investigators handled the case the way that they did. I almost suspect that maybe they pled guilty because, I don't know, I just feel like the investigators really shot their own foot with this investigation. I think had it gone to trial, I think the defense would have had a good time finding a lot of legal murkiness with the way that the investigators approached all of this. And I think maybe that is what resulted in this plea deal. But that's just my speculation. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Be safe. One prominent UFO researcher once said, if you start looking for patterns, you're gonna find them. And people think one of the worst patterns to emerge in 2026 is the pattern of important scientists going missing or ending up dead. Is it a fear-mongering conspiracy where netizens are connecting together a few dots and calling it a link? Or is it a real legitimate theory? I mean, I can't be the one to tell you. However, it does seem that any scientist or researcher studying something important to the greater safety of humankind or the detriment of humankind, anyone, scientist, researcher, involved in some sort of death, it's going to be investigated by some curious netizens. So Chen, a Chinese researcher based in the United States, he has the exact type of resume where if something happens to him, it makes you want to throw coincidence out the window and sign up for like a front row seat at Conspiracy Con. Chen has a research role at CASIA, which is basically China's flagship AI research institution right now. Although they were first formed, I will say, to help China build nuclear missiles and satellites, their first program was actually called 2 Bombs, 1 Satellite, which is like...
2 bomb?
Yeah, 2 bombs, 1 satellite. Yeah.
Okay.
And CASIA's signature specialty is actually biometrics, which is how they teach computers how to identify humans by face, by their iris, and even their gait, how they walk. They had this like whole thing where they could identify you. They don't even know you. They don't know what your face looks like, but they could identify you from like a mile away on CCTV footage if they like follow certain gait patterns. Yeah. They have a free data set of people's faces that have become one of the most widely used training set in the entire world for facial recognition. He was a postdoctoral researcher in the bioinformatics division at Tsinghua University. What does that even mean? What is bioinformatics? It sounds kind of like cute, but it's not cute at all. It's a very interesting role. It's not just data. It's not just AI, machine learning. You have to specialize in all of that, but you also have to specialize in molecular and cell biology. Researchers in the bioinformatics division at Tsinghua are working on projects like the Human Cell Atlas, which is actually a giant international project, like a global initiative. It's to catalog every cell type, describe its molecular fingerprint, if you will, and notate where it lives and what it does. Basically, Google Maps for the human body, which the human body is made up of roughly 37 trillion cells. So this is going to take a minute. The goal would be to give every biologist like a shared reference. So if they find a weird cell in their own experiment, they can look it up against the master map. It would also make it easier to find out which cells changed how, which could help find cell signatures that flag early cancer before it's dangerous. But if you're not working on the single cell atlas, they could be in any number of different AI and biology research programs. The whole idea is LLM, large language models, so ChatGPT, cloud, but instead of being trained on human language, they're going to be trained on the human body. Biology, like a language. Create a foundational model, a cloud for cells, ChatGPT for cells. They train on cells and patterns of which genes turn on together, in which cell types, under which conditions. The ultimate goal, they said, is to have a digital patient. So everybody has a patient profile, and now they have one for AI, and you run experiments and medications through the digital patient before the real patient, which sounds like it could also save lives, but also sounds really fucking terrifying at the same time, okay? But after those research positions in China, Chen gets invited to come to the United States. He doesn't try to immigrate, he gets an invitation. It's like a Hogwarts invitation in the mail for a research role for Cold Spring Harbor Laboratory, which has been dubbed the birthplace of molecular biology. So there is that. They've been around since like 1890. They're a world-renowned nonprofit private research and education institution. The lab today focuses on 5 distinct areas: cancer, neuroscience, genomics, plant biology, and quantitative biology. They do a lot of important work, but also they were the epicenter for the American eugenics movement at one point. The lab did preserve all its records for teaching and research while openly discussing it, so I guess they're trying to be transparent about one of the darkest chapters of American history and science, but I mean, who's to say, right? Chen gets an invitation from that lab, the Cold Spring Harbor lab, to come study in the US, do research for them. He moves to Long Island, New York. His research direction is so complicated. He's focusing on providing systematic solutions for early diagnosis and precision treatment in cancer research using bioinformatics technologies. Yeah, it's a very important role. He also joins Harvard as a research scientist in the Department of Statistics. Throughout his entire career, he has published, co-authored at least 15 papers in notable peer-reviewed international journals in subjects like cancer, basically like trying to cure cancer. He starts his own company in China called My Health Gene. The company uses huge amounts of biological data, DNA, genes. They analyze to help doctors catch diseases early on and pick treatments tailored to each individual patient. So he's got the type of resume where if he's involved in a death, people are going to start a conspiracy theory online. April 7th, 2022, outside the Cambridge District Courthouse in Medford, Massachusetts. It's like a small courthouse with 3 courtrooms. There's 2 jury deliberation rooms. It's 12 holding cells. It's not like a big, giant fortress building like a lot of federal courthouses. You get a free parking lot. There's restaurants right next to it. You go pay your ticket, and then you go eat, I don't know, bojangles. Okay, that's the vibe. Researcher Chen is walking towards his car, a white Chevy Equinox. It's like a SUV. And as he's walking, getting ready to get into the driver's seat, I don't know if he does, but he must, right? He must sense something. Like something must shift in that exact moment. It is believed that as he's getting into his car, he locks eyes with this young man who also just stepped out of the courthouse. And there must be something that happens between the two of them. Nobody hears any sort of exchange. Nobody hears them talking. Or at least I haven't reported it, but something must happen. Some reports describe it as they share a look. Whatever it is, it's like something activates inside of researcher Chen. He gets in the car, turns the engine on, and before anyone else can react, he slams the foot down on the accelerator. He's not booking it to leave the courthouse. He's accelerating and ramming straight into the young man who just walked out of the courthouse that he just locked eyes with. He's not honking for the young man to get out of his way. This is not like a road rage incident either. Chen, the brilliant researcher, drives directly into this young man. He basically has him trapped. So this young man is now trapped in between the Chevy Equinox, Chen's car, and another parked car. He's trapped. Chen reverses, rams it back into him until the front of Chen's SUV is completely dented like the surface of the moon. And then Chen steps out of his car.
Slamming into the young man and another car?
Yeah, but mainly the young man. Then he steps out with a black handgun and fires into the young man 5 to 6 times. This is a courthouse. Where the hell are the cops? Why isn't anybody stopping Chen?
Responding to 4040 Mystic Valley Parkway in the rear of the courthouse. Shots fired, man down.
Police officers are circling him within seconds. You know, they're pointing their own weapons while ordering him to drop his. But it's not the police that stop Chen. It's very interesting. It's a tall man in a suit walks up. He approaches Chen, restrains him almost calmly, like he's just pinning Chen on the ground. He uses his knee, so Chen is face down. And this man in the suit has his knee on Chen's back. And then using one of his hands, he's kind of rubbing Chen's back, almost soothing him.
Okay.
And then finally, the police come over, handcuff Chen. Who the hell is this man in the suit? This is Chen's attorney, who was just representing Chen in the courtroom. Chen, the brilliant researcher, is now being arrested, and the young man laying dead in the parking lot of the courthouse is Wang, otherwise known as Cohen. He's 23 years old, and he's Chen's nephew. But would this scientist kill his own nephew, his sister's own son? It doesn't make any sense. Well, it is believed that Cohen wanted a wife. He wanted a woman to marry, but like, what does that have to do with Chen? It is reported that Cohen didn't just want anyone to marry. He wanted to marry scientist Chen's wife, his aunt. I'd like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support NAMI National, also known as the National Alliance on Mental Illness. NAMI is the nation's largest mental health organization dedicated to improving the lives of individuals. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's team of dedicated researchers. We would also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at RottenMangoPodcast.com. Today's episode includes brief mentions of stalking behaviors, gun violence. Some quotes or statements may be condensed for brevity, and a lot of the research, even though this case does take place in the United States, a lot of the research was done with the help of our Chinese translators because there's just a lot more information in China. You'll see why in a second. But with that being said, let's begin. The setup for Chen is just not ideal. It's not ideal. He has his wife, Michelle. Michelle is a pseudonym. Her name is, it's not widely circulating, so we're going to keep it Michelle. She has 2 young kids, and Chen is barely home. Now, to be fair,
how old is Chen and Michelle though?
They're like in their late 30s by this point, early 40s. And
okay. How old are they? Too young?
Elementary school. And Chen is like barely home. He's never home. He's not doing school pickup and drop off. And to be fair, he is the sole breadwinner. And his most lucrative business appears to be the one in China, where he has the biotech company. He has all these research roles in the United States, but you're not getting paid $1 bajillion to be in the Department of Statistics at Harvard. But you probably will get paid $1 bajillion to own a private company in China that helps cure people of certain diseases.
Back and forth, or?
Yeah. Half time in China, half time in Boston. And it's doing really well. He's even being invited to speak as the guest at the Tsinghua Beijing Tianjin Haibei Healthcare Big Data Summit Forum. The amount of ink that they would need to just like have letterheads with that entire... It's unclear exactly how his time is divvied up, but I would say it's like closer to 50-50. But it has been established that Michelle Chen's wife, she is adamant that she wants her children raised in the United States. So it's not like Chen leaves her without a choice. It's not like Chen is like, well, you have to stay here. I'm going to go. In fact, if Chen had it his way, they would all move back to China. Because not only does he have his company, he's been offered really crazy prestigious roles in research and things that would give him a lot of funding to do, I guess, his life's dreams and goals. Whatever that may be. It has been said that the longer this back and forth goes on, Chen senses some tension with his wife, Michelle, because every time he comes back to Boston, she does seem a little bit distracted. She does seem a little bit distant, but that could also be because she's just freaking exhausted. She's holding the house down by herself. She just might be awash with dilemmas and deficiencies, you know? However, it is noted that Michelle is the one that also wanted him to go to China to start this lucrative business. And she did not want to go with him. So technically, it is a compromise Chen does make it back to the family to spend all the big holidays. So he's back for Christmas, he's back for Chinese New Year, and sometimes he likes to keep it fresh. He wants to surprise his kids. In 2019, after finishing up this huge project with his company in China, Chen decides, I got time. Sure, I was going to stay in China for an extra 3 days to wrap up the project, but it's already wrapped, so I can go home 3 days earlier than I expected. The name of the game is surprise. I'm going to go surprise my wife and kids. He quietly boards a flight home, gets to the airport, drives back home in Boston, and when he slips his key into the front door, all's quiet. Everything's good. He walks up the steps, opens the door to the primary bedroom, and there in his bed is his wife, his 39-year-old wife, Michelle, and his 19-year-old nephew. And that is how Chen finds out that the last year of his life has been a lie, okay? Well, over a year, like a year and a half, because the nephew's almost turning 20, but in his house, it's his wife and nephew. They've been having an affair in his house. Not only is he betrayed by his wife, he's also betrayed by his nephew. It's not just his marriage that blows up that night, it's his entire extended family. Now, this is not incestual in the sense that the nephew is Chen's sister's son. So his wife has no blood relation to the nephew. So I guess that's the only silver lining, is this is not an incestuous affair. But I mean, that's like a really low bar to set. It's his wife and it's his sister's little brother at the end of the day. To Chen, it probably feels like a multifaceted attack on his psyche. On top of that, affairs are always very tricky when it's happening inside the shared marital home, because that's supposed to be your safe space. Moreover, Chen is the one that invited his nephew to come live with them out of the goodness of his heart so that his nephew could go to college in the United States. Oh my God. So in 2016, back in 2016, Chen gets a call from his older sister, and she's telling him that her one and only son, Cohen, the only nephew that Chen has, because he only has one older sister, and this is the only son that she has, he's ready to go to college now. But the problem is he wants to study abroad in the US. But the problem with that is that his English is not good enough to yet apply to most of the colleges that he wants to attend. So probably the fastest way to learn English would be going to the United States, taking a gap year, immersing himself in the culture and the language, and going to like a English program. Would Chen mind if Cohen could come stay with him in Boston for a year to learn English? Just provide housing and food, and we're going to send a little money for transportation. Like, the setup is, a lot of Asians have probably experienced the setup, okay? And then he gets to college, we'll go from there. That's it. Just like a year really is what we're asking. We're not asking you to put him through high school. It's just a year, and then he's going to dorm in college. That's the plan. Cohen joins the Chen family in Boston. Michelle doesn't like this. She is not happy. She's got 2 kids. Now she has to watch this random ass teenager, okay, not blood relation. She's never even really met the kid like that. And now she has to watch him. In fact, this is a huge point of contention for them early on. Michelle is arguing, like, I don't even want him to be here. First of all, why are you even saying yes if you're not even here to help take care of him? You're gonna be in China most of the time. So it doesn't make sense. Now she's doing chores, cooking, cleaning, managing the entire household with some teenager she barely knows, adding on to all of it. But Chen convinces his wife his older sister is the only reason that he was able to go to college. She paid most of his tuition, and this is her son, so he owes it to his sister. Also, Chen's been with Michelle since college, so she kind of knows. So she's like, okay, you know what? Fine. Chen leaves for China, and at first he's very worried that every time he calls Michelle, it's just going to be screaming on the other line. She's going to be like complaining about how miserable she is and how this is so unmanageable. And, you know, now there's this stinky, probably smelly, unhygienic teenager living in their house, and she just wants to like punch someone in the face. But no, every time Chen would call, she would tell him, Cohen is helping around the house, doing chores. He seems really grateful that he has this opportunity, so he's trying to do his part. He's actually a very mature young man. The part nobody knows, however, is who initiated the affair. Not that I think it's, well, maybe it is kind of pertinent, but it's believed by some that Michelle has blamed Cohen for seducing her, and Cohen blames Michelle for seducing him. And they're both selling their sides of the story to Chen when he finds them in bed together. We don't know who did what. However, the likely starting point of this affair seems to be from English tutoring lessons. So remember, Cohen is trying to learn English. He went to this English academy to learn, and he ends up failing his very first English exam that he worked a year to study for. So the whole point of the agreement was he's going to come to America to learn English, get admitted into an American college. If he can't learn English, he can't get admitted into an American college, and then all of this would have been for nothing. So Michelle takes it upon herself, has been what's been reported, and she decides that I'm just gonna tutor him in my free time. Like when the kids are at school, I'm just gonna like try to help him with his English. It works. He passes all of his exams, successfully gets admitted into Northeastern University in Boston for computer science, which is obviously not the only thing that he gets into while he's in the United States. The affair goes on for almost 2 years, so it does seem that he was of age when it started. So there's no allegation that he was not of age. It seems like he was about to turn 20 when the affair was caught. So it's like almost 2 years.
Like 18.
Yeah. And even after getting into Northeastern and moving into a dorm, moving out of Chen and Michelle's house, they allegedly continue the affair. So he's just dropping by, playing daddy. Yeah, the only person in the dark of what's happening in his house is Chen, the one who's working nonstop in China, earning money to support his wife and children, and now his nephew is in his house playing house.
Wow, that's really fun too for the 2 kids though.
Yeah.
They also live there.
Yeah. That night, after kicking Cohen out, Chen can't even sleep in the same house. He goes to a hotel and he decides he's going to divorce his wife. There's nothing else that he can do about it. It's not something that he's going to get over. And the whole process of divorcing his wife goes as amicably as one would hope a divorce goes. He does have to go back to China frequently still after the divorce. It's believed that his wife and children end up staying in the Boston house. Chen is not lashing out on them. He's not trying to take every penny with him that he earned and rob Michelle out of a life and home. There's no violent tendencies. There's no really even strong resentment. It seems like he just cuts her out, but still co-parents. Some allege that once the emotions settle down a bit, Chen has a conversation with Cohen about it, which I can't imagine any sort of conversation like this going well, but allegedly it ends with Cohen telling his uncle, I will stop harassing you guys, as long as you let me marry my aunt.
What?
The worst part about this is Chen's sister, so Cohen's mom.
Wait, what is that?
Yeah, no, there's a reason behind it, and it's actually kind of like weird and dark, but you'll see. The worst part though is that not only Chen is like, what do you mean? Like, why would you marry my wife? Well, ex-wife now, right? His sister agrees with him. His sister is like, you need to let my son marry your ex-wife because you guys are divorced anyway.
I cannot believe this.
Outside of the Harry Potter series, a lot of people in China are referred to as Voldemorts. Say Voldemort the way that you do in China.
Voldemort.
Yes, okay. Actually has nothing to do with the source material. It's not a nickname for those caught gossiping with snakes or like bald men with uniquely shaped noses that streamline the process of breathing. Like, it's not for those people. It has nothing to do with that. It's rather the phonetic pronunciation of the word Voldemort. In Chinese, it's
Voldemort,
which if you switch the characters, it can also be read as monstrous brother supporter.
Okay. That's a really unique way.
Yeah, it's like an oddly complicated nickname, but like once you get the nuance, it all clicks. There's a few prerequisites that must be met for someone to fully live up to the nickname. You must be a sister. You must have a brother. It is better if the biological brother is younger than you, preferably like a few age gap is, the sweet spot. And the most important aspect is your family must not have enough resources for every child. That is when someone could become Voldemort. It is to describe families with a strong patriarchal mindset that prefers sons over their daughters, which results in the family resources being directed only to the sons. There have been countless situations where the older sister forgoes college, not because she can't get admitted, she's already been admitted, but because the family can only afford one tuition and it's going to go to the brother. The daughter has to stay behind, drop out of school early so she can focus on helping the struggling family business, while the son, who's not nearly as bright as the daughter, because of course he's not, he's been spoiled his entire life because they live in a patriarchal society in those specific families in China, gets to go live in a big city attending college while everyone back home is supporting him. The nickname Voldemort is not to shame the sisters that this happens to. It's more so like a description of they're getting their souls and dreams sucked out of them slowly by their families. The shame is placed on the parents and obviously society, but the sisters are called Voldemorts because phonetically it, can mean that. It's like kind of used sympathetically. So if you look at a girl who's given up everything for her brother, you might say like, oh, well, she hasn't had the best shot at life because she's a Voldemort. It's more like it's not really her choice. She could have done way better. It's just this is what happened. If anyone has the rights to this god-awful nickname, it's probably Chen's older sister. She's basically like grandfathered into this. It's a miserable, unlucky position to be in. Chen's family are from a really, really small town. They've got 2 kids. So they have Chen's older sister and Chen. They're only 3 years apart, which makes this even worse. Usually when the son is older, the parents come up with a bunch of palatable excuses like, oh, well, he's gonna go to college first because he just got in, and we're gonna save a lot of money for the next few years, so you can maybe go to college. Probably not. But when they're younger than you, it's like, well, no, you can't, because we're saving the money for your little brother. Chen's family are day laborers, mainly doing farm work. Chen and his sister were also expected to help with, but they noticed that Chen would try to sneak away from work to read in a corner when he was a kid. Everybody noticed. Nobody got mad at him. They thought that this might be the start of a child who could get them out of this situation. Somehow, both the siblings were blessed academically. Chen's older sister ends up getting admitted into a Key Point High School, which Key Point High Schools in China, notoriously difficult to get into. Essentially, it's a pre-college admissions program. And just to give you a bunch of context, in the 70s and 80s, China did not have enough educational resources, but they wanted to compete with the rest of the world. How do you compete if you don't have elite talent pipelines? It's hard. The government decides they're going to concentrate a lot of their very limited educational resources into a small number of designated schools across the country, and they're going to skim from the top of every class. So this is why you have a high school entrance exam. That's why. Because like in America, that doesn't make sense, because it's like, wait, what do you mean? You go either private or public, and public is based off your zip code, which there's already a lot of inequality there. But in China, now you have to take a test to get into the high school, and the high schools are ranked. So they skim the top of everyone in the country and throw them into the Key Point High Schools. And that's to elevate them to become the elite talent pipeline. They still have to study really hard to get admitted into the colleges, because now you're competing against everyone at all the other Key Point High Schools in the country. The government actually renamed it to Model High School because Key Point High School seemed a little rough on the ears, politically speaking. So they renamed it recently, but it seems like no one really calls it that.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
They renamed it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that.
Chen's sister places really well in the high school admissions test. She gets admitted into one of the province's Key Point High Schools. This is huge, especially for students with lower income families that don't have a bunch of tutors. It's like nearly impossible. But because of the Key Point High School she gets into, it's a boarding school. She has to board. They don't have the fee for boarding and transportation to and from the school. Also, like the food she has to eat, like everything is going to add up. The family could maybe do it, but then they would have nothing in 3 years when Chen takes his high school admissions exam, and they also think he's going to get into a Key Point High School. So the family, it is said that they told the older sister, you do what you want to do and we're going to support any decision. But she knows what that means, okay? Everyone knows what that means. She doesn't go to high school. Yeah. She drops out after middle school, gets into odd jobs, working on farms, restaurants, factory work. And then 3 years later, it's Chen's turn. He does get into a Key Point High School, and it is funded. A lot of the boarding costs are funded by his parents and his sister. And then with college, it's also funded by his sister and his parents. It would be justified if Chen's sister showed a lot of resentment for all of this, but she never does. And maybe she genuinely never felt it, because it is reported that Chen showed a lot of gratitude. He was always showing how appreciative he is towards his sister, so maybe that eased any potential resentment or tension. She put him through university. He ends up at NPU, which it's like a military industrial university. There's a total of 7 universities that are called 7 Sons of National Defense in China, mainly because those 7 universities, so all the other universities, they report to the Ministry of Education. But NPU and the other 6 universities, they report to the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology.
Really?
Yeah.
And they're very good?
Yeah, they're very good. But a lot of their major focus is like military defense.
Yeah.
Lots of like aerial sciences, lots of weapons research. Yeah. Which he could only attend this school with his parents and his sister helping for the tuition. He doesn't take it lightly. It said during the first 4 years, Chen holds himself to such high standards that he only did 4 things: eat, sleep, walk to and from his room to the library and to class, and study. That's it. Eat, sleep, transport and school. That's it. Nothing else. Basically, everything was just keeping him alive and everything was just studying. He consistently ranked in the top of his class in the university to the point where most students have to apply and take another test to attend grad school. But Chen was offered a spot without taking a test. He didn't even need to apply. Which again, he wouldn't be if he was working and studying, but he's just studying and he feels like a lot of this is due to his sister. And grad school, he still has to pay for it. He gets a master's degree in image processing from the Department of Automatic Control, and his sister helps pay for it. Now, essentially, image processing, the foundational technology, is for guided weapons, drone perception, aerial reconnaissance, surveillance. It's very like defense engineering pipeline degree, which kind of fits NPU. That's what they're known for. From there, he gets into CASIA, which is like the Chinese, that's where they do the AI, stuff. And then Tsinghua, then Cold Springs Lab in the US. And while he's doing that, Chen's sister goes from sending money over to pay for all of his education to now that he doesn't need the help and he's getting paid, now she's back in their hometown taking care of their elderly aging parents. Since Chen clearly doesn't have the time, he's also in the United States, he has a demanding job, and now he has a wife and 2 kids. And the promise, like the unspoken promise, nobody says it outright, but the unspoken promise, whether it, is that the sister is going to do all of this, and Chen will do everything he can to help his sister later in life whenever she asks. And again, Chen does really, really, really well in his field. He's been granted a US green card based off his outstanding contributions to science, and then later he gets a US citizenship. They purchase a house in Boston. He's even offered a position at, again, CASIA, the Chinese Academy of Sciences. This is like the highest academic institution in the sector that he's working in. It's like the most prestigious. They collaborate closely with the government. They're the ones that helped create China's own Beidou navigation satellite system because, US sanctions. So China had to build its own like space station. They had to build like their own navigations. It's crazy, okay? And they're the ones that mainly did it. And so he gets this opportunity to go research there at this level, and it's huge. It's huge. So he's like, okay, I want to go back. I want to go there and do this. But his wife, Michelle, is like, well, no, I don't want to go to China. So we're not going to go there so you can do research that you could maybe probably do here. So just figure out a way to do it here. On November 13th, 2022, 4 University of Idaho students, Madison, Kaylee, Ethan, and Xana, had their futures stolen from them. And for months, a killer walked free. Idaho Murders College Nightmare is a 3-part documentary that follows one of the most chilling murder cases in recent memory. With unprecedented access to the victims' families and police footage, the series peels back the layers of the case that forever changed Moscow, Idaho, and asks the question that haunts everyone left behind. How do you make sense of something so senseless? Watch Idaho Murders College Nightmare, now playing only on Netflix. Pet parent guilt isn't something that's talked about much, but it is a feeling we all know well. When daily life gets in the way, it feels impossible to measure up to our pet's unconditional love, but you're doing better than you think you are. And Hill's Pet Nutrition is here to make this whole pet parenting thing easier with science-led nutrition to support their unique needs and lifelong health. My dog Tiger is on a no-fly list. The one time we took him on a plane, he was so sick with stress and anxiety, it made us realize that unless his life depended on it, there will be zero reason for him to ever fly again. And even though I know it's for his own health, leaving him while I'm traveling always makes me feel a little bit guilty, or a lot of bit guilty. Thankfully, Hills helps me alleviate this guilt because I know I'm giving my pet nutrition that always measures up to their needs. You can feel confident that you're doing right by your pet and taking care of them with guilt-free meals they can't get enough of. Because you're only human. There's Hills. Science does more. Ready to give more love than humanly possible? Find your pet's new favorite food at hillspet.com/rotten. That's hillspet.com/rotten. Anyway, after the affair. Originally, the plan is for everybody's sake to keep the entire affair a secret. Chen and Michelle are gonna get divorced, but they can give like some generic reason about schedules. He's in China. Yeah, maybe there's probably going to be rumors that he has like a mistress in China, because that's usually what happens when these very vague reasons for divorce come out in their circles. But they could just say, no, our schedules were not matching up. It just didn't make sense. We were not seeing each other. We're not seeing eye to eye. As for Cohen, I mean, he's already in college. It's natural he's drifting away from his uncle and aunt. He's making his own friends. So it's not like he has to call his sister and be like, oh yeah, Cohen did this today. Cohen hung out with me today. So they're already living separate lives. So the whole plan is not even to tell Cohen's mom about what happened. Just tell nobody.
They haven't. Okay, I see.
That's the original plan. But Cohen starts telling his mom what happened. He shares his version of events, whether it be the truth. It's hard to say. We'll break it down in a second. But he tells his mom back in China that his aunt, Chen's wife, seduced him. And they were intimate for a while, but he was so lonely. He didn't even really know what was happening. It's like hard to understand. And she manipulated him into this really, really inappropriate affair. And when Chen found out, his uncle found out, instead of protecting him, he throws Cohen out of the house, leaving him practically stranded in the United States with nobody he can reach out to, nobody to look after him. And like, sure, he's a college kid, but still, like this is his only link to an adult who might be able to help him. He's only been in the States for a few years. And now on top of that, Mom, Chen is threatening to get a restraining order out on me. And Cohen is like, all I wanted to do was talk to my uncle about what happened and apologize and explain my side of the events. But Chen is so hot-tempered, so upset, so jealous, so resentful. He threw me out of the house without hearing me out and told me that this is trespassing and he's gonna get a restraining order. With everyone finding out in the family about the real reason for the divorce, Chen is feeling probably humiliated, but also there is this new pressure put on him from his sister. She's upset because then at least the least you can do. Her theory is like, the least you can do is help my son get a green card.
By marrying the aunt.
Yeah, I guess her thought process is, this is a woman who is 39, took advantage of my son who is 18, went into this new country where he knows nobody. His entire life is now inside of this box, which is probably his room inside of Chen's family house. And she is the adult. She's the one making decisions. And she seduces him. She takes advantage of this, ruins his life, ruins the entire family relations. And of course, Chen divorces her. So the least she can do for basically repentance is to marry my son, give him a green card. Like, this is what he should get out of the trauma, at least, is kind of like her thought process in the theory. But she's mad because she's like, okay, brother, not only are you letting your ex-wife not marry my son, because that's the least she can do after taking advantage of him, because that's from her perspective.
So she brought it up to
Chen, yes.
And Chen say no.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on top of that, she's like, now you're trying to get a restraining order against my son, which again jeopardizes his chances of getting a visa or green card the more appropriate way, through work after he graduates, because he's on a student visa. And that's so much harder also to get like an H-1B visa. It's so difficult. From her perspective, she did everything from her brother, and this is how he repays her for her one and only son. She repeatedly calls Chen, telling him that, Cohen is young. He's clearly been used and seduced by your ex-wife. Yes, he acted foolishly, but now that it's all said and done, the least you guys can do is get him the green card. It is unclear if this version of events is true, though I can see how it is highly possible, okay? Considering Michelle is the one in the position of power in this situation, and I will stand on that. I tend to agree that she's mostly the one at fault. I get that Cohen is 19. I get that the affair started after he was 18, but he's in a very vulnerable situation where he's coming into a brand new place, moving to a whole new country. He doesn't speak the language. He has no support system. He thinks he's being taken care of in this home. I can see how he is the most vulnerable in this situation. Though I do see some netizens saying Michelle might have been vulnerable because, she's in a marriage where her husband is never home. She's left alone with the kids. Her entire identity is just being alone and raising the family without her husband. That's just speculation of what people think Michelle was going through. However, Michelle is also the one that reportedly wanted Chen to work in China a lot. It's been reported that she was not enthusiastic of a research opportunity that Chen received in China that he was really excited for. But she was enthusiastic of a lucrative business idea that he wanted to start a company in China. So some people are putting the blame on her, and it's like, well, it's kind of your fault that he's not home because you wanted him to go start this company instead of just being satisfied with his research roles, where he is probably doing greater good for humankind and society, trying to find ways to prevent cancer, even if it is using technology that people may not agree with. He might ultimately net neutral, like be saving lives at least. So there is that people are like, well, I mean, he didn't really have to be in China all the time, so that doesn't make any sense. Or if you really wanted, you can move to China with the kids. But regardless, there's a lot of back and forth. But I would say wholeheartedly, out of the two, Michelle and Cohen, it's pretty clear the one who bears more responsibility, at least for the start and the continuation of the affair, is Michelle. She's 20 years older than Cohen, double his age. She's supposed to be his caretaker in the US, even though he is an adult, but still. However, there are new theories that have come out kind of out of nowhere. There's stories coming out that perhaps Cohen is the mastermind of this affair. Mainly, this is stemming from online forums with netizens who claim they went to high school with Cohen. One particularly well-circulating post, the netizen who claims to know Cohen says he is highly manipulative, that during his high school years in China, he just jumped from one girlfriend to another, which is not inherently a bad thing. However, they believe that he was manipulating and using his girlfriend. They claim that Cohen had a whole group of guys in high school that looked up to him because they all wanted to be PUAs, pickup artists.
Yeah, but in Chinese context, it's like basically you're
gaslight manipulator.
Yeah.
It's not like
to get different girls.
Like lying, scheming, and cheating is not below a PUA. It has a very strong negative connotation, probably worse than America. And they said that Cohen would this is an allegation that's coming from like a random netizen post, that he would film himself having intimate relations with girls and share it amongst the group of guys who also aspired to be PUAs. But I don't know if this is true at all, or if he just like would talk a big game because he's a high schooler. And I think the only part that would be really alarming is if these videos were shared without anyone's consent or taken without anyone's consent. Also, there are minors at that point, so that's already concerning. However, I don't know how true this post is. I mean, there's really no verification process for this. There's no way to authenticate it, but it has since gone viral in China, which is why a lot of Chinese netizens have kind of bought into this theory that maybe Michelle is not the one that started the affair. Not that they like Michelle. It seems most netizens don't like her, but maybe she's not the one that started the affair. Again, I don't know how true that is. The theory goes on in China that Michelle was not a fan of Cohen when he first got to the US. She was really annoyed that she has this task of taking on, a full-grown teenager that she's not even personally related to other than by marriage. He's a burden. She's probably not treating him the nicest. And the netizens theorize that Cohen, seeing this, feeling this, he decides instead of being upset and treating her the same way, he's just gonna woo her. He starts changing his attitude, showering her with compliments, not thinking it was probably gonna lead to an affair, that it was just gonna make her be nice to him, but things snowball into an affair. Who's the one that should have stopped it? Probably Michelle. You get the idea. People are it's a lot. Others have been spreading even more bizarre theories online, stating that Cohen had a plan to come to the US. He knew that his uncle and aunt had a strained relationship because his mom would talk about it. That's an allegation. That's like a huge speculation. It's a rumor. It's not even an allegation. It's a fucking rumor. That he just wanted to break up the parents so he could get his aunt, marry for a green card. Now, I will say there's a little bit more nuance to this. I know everyone's like, oh, well, that's like a huge theory for Chinese netizens to come up with. Like, why would he marry his aunt for a green card? It is a very tricky situation. So when Chinese students come into the United States to study, they all come on a student visa. And getting a green card or getting citizenship is notoriously difficult of really anyone of any nationality when they come into the United States. Obviously, like we see it on the news all the time. But with Chinese students, it's especially difficult because the people that they typically socialize with and form relationships, interpersonal relationships, and therefore maybe future marriages are also Chinese students who are more immersed in Chinese culture versus like Chinese Americans who might be American citizens, right? Or are American citizens. And so if they find each other, you kind of get these situations where you have now a couple in the US and they're both hoping that they can separately get H-1B visas, or at least one of them can and the other one can try to stay.
H-1B is work visa, right? right?
Yes, which are very difficult, and you have to have specialized skills in the industry. And a lot of the industries that they're going into, such as tech, such as, it's just like a very overpopulated industry of people trying to get H-1B visas. Unless you're phenomenal at your job, it's going to be very difficult. And even if you are phenomenal at your job, it gives you a really limited sense of mobility, because if you're an American citizen, you could work at Meta today and then Amazon tomorrow because they pay you more. But then you're kind of locked into a company for a very long time until you can find a way to get a different visa that's not dependent on your work. It's really hard. It's a really lengthy process. Visas are a huge deal, to the point where I believe, because I was like talking to the Chinese researcher about it, and she was saying, like, even if you like go on dating websites in China, like in the US as a Chinese person, a lot of the Chinese students will indicate on their dating profile if they have a visa or if they don't.
Yeah.
It changes the whole like factor of the relationship. So it's like a huge deal. So this is not just like a, let me marry my aunt and do something crazy for giggles. It's like maybe some people can wrap their minds around why he would do something. Not saying he did, but why this rumor gained legs and started running around. He would also be able to secure permanent residency from that point if he were to marry someone with US citizenship. I don't know if that's the case. There's a lot of back and forth of rumors here. Technically, he is studying computer science at Northeastern University. He could technically apply for an H-1B visa. Again, difficult. Northeastern is not a top 10 school. It is ranked top 50 in the United States. It's an incredible university, okay? It's a good school. It's just like visas are fucking hard. I don't know what else to say. It's just so difficult. He may have a relatively okay chance at securing a visa, but it's not guaranteed. So the only way to guarantee a visa is to marry a US citizen. However, he goes to Northeastern. A lot of the girls that he probably would date are probably fellow Chinese students who are also trying to secure a visa. And then with Chinese Americans, or even Americans of different cultures, it's not going to be as easy to mesh and click and try to, because I don't know how proficient he is at English. It didn't seem like he had that much struggles, but you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So maybe the easiest way would be to marry his aunt on paper for a few years. Another theory is that Chen's older sister was never resentful of being Voldemort out loud, but maybe she expressed it to her son and in the privacy of her own nuclear family unit. So maybe she talked about it all the time with her brother and in front of her son, Cohen. Or maybe she said things like, oh yeah, my brother got into Harvard at the Department of Statistics, but it's all because of me. He wouldn't have been able to do it without me because I paid his way through college. So perhaps she felt like he was living the life that she was owed, and Cohen, soaking in all of these statements throughout his years of development, he decided that his uncle really just owes him things, is what a lot of Chinese netizens suspect. And this is coming from, I think, a lot of cultural nuance that they probably have in this case that we don't have as much in the United States. So they're saying, like, we've seen situations like this, where sisters will openly talk about it in front of their kids, talk about their uncles and say these types of things, or they feel like they need to be repaid. So maybe for that reason, they felt it was entirely reasonable for Michelle to marry Cohen for the green card. But again, these are just internet theories and rumors. There's really nothing that we can be certain about. And Cohen is no longer here to defend himself against such rumors and allegations, which makes the waters much murkier here. But one of Cohen's old roommates has done a few interviews where he states, at least from his perspective, he thought Cohen was scared of his uncle. Yeah, he says Cohen was telling him that he's scared that his uncle is going to break in one day and kill him. And obviously the roommate is like, I also live here, so now I'm scared too.
This is after the affair.
Yeah.
The uncle found out.
Mm-hmm. So the roommate is like, but at the end of the day, I felt like it was him being paranoid. And maybe Chen's resume played a role into it, because I also think, like, subconsciously, I'd be like, he's studying cell biology for cancer. Like, maybe he's not gonna kill you. Like, I don't know. For the affair itself, there are people who blame Michelle and only Michelle. There are people who blame Cohen and only Cohen. And then there are people, probably the majority of people, who feel like it's just probably all around a tricky situation, mainly falling on Michelle, but also, is Cohen as innocent as people think he is? Innocent in the ethical and moral sense, not in the illegal criminal sense. Because after all of this, after the affair is found out by Chen, and Cohen goes back to his dorm, it's said that he would show up to the house a lot.
Whose house?
It's Chen and Michelle's house.
Who's living there right now?
So Chen ends up moving back in because of this. So when it was just Michelle and the kids, it said that Cohen would show up a lot and like trespass onto their property, trying to talk to Michelle. He allegedly would also nonstop send messages to Michelle. He would show up to the church that she goes to. He says that he just wants to talk to her and just talk. That's it. But the messages he sends are far more threatening than just talking. He tells her that he's going to kill her entire family.
What?
Yeah, but it's like not just I'm gonna kill your entire family. It's like, if I'm not gonna kill your entire family, I'm going to self-exit. So I'm not entirely sure what the energy of that type of text message is, but it's not.
Either or?
Yeah, either or.
Either I'm gonna kill you all or I'm gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So this is very alarming for Chen. And that is when he ends up moving back into the family house. He's not trying to get back together with Michelle. So this is not like a let's try again type of thing. It's more like, hey, my kids are in here. So I'm scared for my kids.
And that's why he had the restraining order, right?
Yes. So he ends up getting a restraining order. And they end up drawing the line for this restraining order. So it seems like there were multiple incidences where they didn't think it was far enough to get a restraining order, but they finally do it once Cohen allegedly shows up at the children's elementary school, waiting for Michelle to come pick them up so that he can catch Michelle and talk to Michelle. So there are allegations that Cohen would show up to the house and just like peer through the windows until they would open up, which they would never open the door. Just a lot. It's also said that Cohen started demanding that his uncle Chen find him someone to marry. If Michelle is not going to marry him, the least you can do is get me a green card, or else I'm going to tell everyone online about what happened.
Where's that report coming from?
From what they alleged happened in order to get this restraining order.
This is directly from Chen, reported to the police.
No, so he's reporting it to his attorney, and the attorney is summarizing this for the judge. However, there is text message evidence, but in terms of like, we did try to FOI this case. It's still pending, so they didn't give us any files. But I don't know if we have the exact evidence for that. But this is what he told his attorney, and the attorney told the judge. And a restraining order was granted. So he's saying that I just want permanent residency, find me someone to marry. And Chen is like, okay, I'm not someone who runs in those circles. I'm sure there are people out there who will find someone who would arrange an illegal and unethical deal where you pay money and marry someone for a green card, right? But he doesn't know these people. And also he thinks, what nerve does Cohen have to not, like, what leg do you have to stand on to make these demands after everything that's transpired? Like, maybe he could make these demands to Michelle, but to Chen, he feels like this is kind of crazy. It's also been reported that in one heated confrontation, Cohen beat up Chen and put him in a headlock. It's unclear if this happened. It's unclear if Chen attacked him first. Everything is kind of unclear, but it seems like there was definitely something going on. Chen and Michelle end up filing a restraining order against Cohen in late 2020, and one of the screenshots of the threatening messages sent to Michelle from Cohen was submitted as evidence. He's texting his aunt saying things like, if I don't kill your entire family, I'm gonna self-exit. Great, this is just too fucking amazing. My future has been ruined by you. You ruined everything for me. She goes, ruined by me? And he responds, now I'm the walking dead with zero dignity left. In 2020, the court not only issues a restraining order, but because of the threats of self-exit in the messages, that's a cause for concern for the courts. They decide to hospitalize Cohen and put him on a self-exit watch for a few days, which does not make Cohen feel better about his uncle and aunt. After the restraining order is filed, it's said that Cohen felt even more wronged by the whole hospital stint, everything, because all of these things are probably they're not going to help his chances of getting a green card, because, you know, these are all going to be in probably I don't know how much of the hospitalization stay will be. I don't know if it would be recorded as just he was hospitalized because he was sectioned for it. So it is, you know, but I don't know if I don't think they're going to get reports because that's a HIPAA violation, but I think it would probably show up. And so any violation of this restraining order would result in a criminal record, which would ruin any and all chance he would have at applying for a visa or green card in the near future. So with all of that going on, Chen's dad passes away. So In the midst of all of this, Chen's dad passes away. And then it's just their mother left, and with nothing left to argue about, Chen's sister allegedly threatens Chen, if you don't help my son get a green card, I'm gonna abandon our mother. I'm gonna leave her. Like, I'm just not gonna take care of her. What are you gonna do? You're barely in our hometown. When you come to China, you're like working in the big city. What are you gonna do? Like, all of that is gonna be on you. It is said that under all of this alleged pressure, Chen's mental state starts crumbling. The only mental protection he has is knowing that Cohen, the only thing he cares most about is staying in the United States. So he's not going to break that restraining order as long as it's in place. The order is only valid for 1.5 years, and the court will then have to decide whether or not they need to extend it. For the 1.5 years that it is in place, Chen's life is a living hell from the constant pressures, but still, this is kind of his only saving grace. His company in China is suffering because of his frequent absences. He's stressed nonstop about his kids' safety. He's trapped in this house with his ex-wife, and it's just, he has to face and confront the affair every day because, again, it happened in the house. And I was actually on Reddit, and a lot of people whose partners have had affairs say it's actually so detrimental to find them in the house. Like, they're saying they think the trauma of the affair would be slashed in half had it never taken place in the house. Because it's like such your safe space that now feels so dirty. And they say that every room reminds you of the affair. And so I wonder if that did something to his psyche. Not that it would excuse anything, but
on top of that, from your families.
And so his very stable, envy-inducing life, where his work is actually producing some sort of, hopefully, net positive purpose for humankind, is just gone. April 7th, 2022, they're at Cambridge District Court in Medford, Massachusetts, to attend a hearing on whether or not they should extend the restraining order against Cohen. During the restraining order, Chen says, he strangled me, physically attacked me, went to elementary school to find my child without permission,
went to elementary school to find my child without permission, attempted to enter my house on several occasions, and would show up and announce late at night, and just hiding, linger outside the windows.
Cohen was there. He testified before the judge, and he says, I think it's a good time for both the parties to move on. I think for me, I have been working very hard on myself.
I think it's a good time for both of the parties to move on. I think for me, I have been working very hard on myself. I have totally moved out of this matter, and I even moved away from where I previously I live with my church friends.
Ultimately, the judge states that they did not see any grounds on extending the restraining order. The judge states, with the defendant having moved, it seems that the likelihood that they're going to encounter each other in their everyday lives is much diminished.
It seems that the likelihood that they're going to encounter each other in their everyday lives is much diminished. And I haven't seen a significant change in circumstances other than to ameliorate the need for the order.
With the restraining order being lifted, this meant that there is no longer any restriction on Cohen coming near them, near their property, contacting them, going to their children's schools. Their session was the last session in court that day. Some people speculate that the judge just wanted to get out of there. That's a huge speculation, but after the last session, everyone is slowly leaving the courthouse. As they're leaving, William Barbino, who is Chen's attorney, is, making sure Chen is okay, and he's thanking his attorney, and Chen's like, I'll be fine. And he's like, thank you. I'm just gonna go home. Michelle is not there, by the way. So Chen, he exits the courthouse, walks towards the parking lot, gets to his car, and he's clearly not fine because he steps into the parking lot and he makes eye contact with Cohen. And it's said that in that moment, something happens. It's hard to say what, but people think that maybe he looked at Cohen and saw something in his eyes that indicated a promise of I'm gonna keep harassing you. But maybe it was a snarky look. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe he looked at the back of Cohen's head and was like, no, I can't do this. I don't know. We there's no way of knowing what went on in his mind at that moment, but he decides to ram his car into Cohen and then get out the car and shoot him.
A man under arrest accused of shooting and killing his own nephew. Prosecutors say it started with a legal battle in court and then minutes later ended in murder.
Oh, so he brought a gun though.
Yeah, but he does have a license to carry. Yeah, a concealed carry permit, I believe.
I see. There will be a huge argument. Is it premeditated versus...
Yeah, that's a huge thing right now. So the fact that he has that permit makes it harder to prove premeditation.
Right.
I think even to argue it's a crime of passion is difficult. Some would say it would perhaps be more applicable if he had killed him in bed when he found the affair. But I would say that this is actually a pretty solid argument that could have a back and forth of crime of passion, because it is after the restraining order was denied and his safety, he feels like he needs to protect some sort of safety for himself, his ex-wife and his kids, maybe, perhaps, could be an argument. I'm not entirely sure, but he does get into the car, ram into Cohen's body, and shoots him 5 to 6 times. And 23-year-old Cohen is killed. Chen's attorney says he thought he heard construction noises, like the ramming of the car. And he went outside, and that's when he realized, he said, I went in. He sees Chen with the gun. So he's like, I went in. I just kind of put my knee on his back. So he sees the police. He sees that that's his client. He's like, I mean, I would assume that the police want my client. Okay, want to restrain him. So he's like, I just went in, put my knee on his back, kind of rubbed his back a little bit, just kind of comforting him, I guess.
Just very gently placed the knee on him and sort of rubbed his back. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's never happened to me.
Wait, so he went in, the cops were standing by just watching with their gun?
Yeah, I think they were trying to assess how
to approach.
Yeah.
But the attorney just charged
Yeah.
in? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he charged, but more so like, was like approaching calmly so that he didn't startle Chen.
I see.
And then he just put him on the ground. Chen went down without a fight. And he said, I just kind of looked over there and there was a dead body and my client here, and I knew the police would want to have him, so I just kind of held him there. He says about the restraining order and this whole situation, he says it's really sad. I mean, Chen was so gentle. Chen was so kind. He didn't have any history of violence. He never had a restraining order against him. He never had any allegations of physical abuse. He grew up in China originally. He got his PhD there. It was in statistics. I mean, he's a bright guy. He was basically #1 in all of his scholastics, all his education. Then he went over to postdoc at Harvard in statistics. He has 2 children. I know he loves his children very much. There's going to be 2 children at home who do not have a dad, if in fact he's the killer. Which, he's a lawyer, so he has to say that. And he goes to the jail for the rest of his life. He was very kind and pleasant and timely and decent and just like the type of guy you always want working next to you. You know what I mean? I mean, it's emotional. It's powerful stuff. It just really affected him, apparently, more than I could see. I knew it affected him clearly, but it affected him obviously a great deal. The DA states, we know the restraining order was not renewed. We don't know if that was the reason for whatever happened outside the courthouse. He was arrested, he was denied bail, and it's going to be very interesting considering a lot of the public sentiment actually seems to be in favor of Chen. A lot of people also have this...
it's ongoing still?
Yeah, so and it's just very messy. I think a lot of the public sentiment comes from clearly his resume, clearly his track record of no criminal history, and his resume of doing such high-level research in fields that, again, could probably ultimately end up helping people, and his very docile demeanor. And further, I think a lot of people have frustration on the restraining order process in the United States of how it's almost like never given out, how it's never really upheld, how the police don't really care until the restraining order is broken, which at that point, like, where is the harm done? Probably everywhere. So a lot of people, they side with Chen. They think that he actually was someone who was driven into madness by relentless pressure by everyone around him. One person says, I really sympathize with Dr. Chen, hope he receives a lenient sentence so he can return to a peaceful life. Others, think that what he was doing for humans was probably way more important. So they think like we should just let him out. They're like, he's not like a spree killer. He's probably not going to go out and like randomly kill another person. Not that he killed, Others say, well, he's got to lay in his bed. He made it. He's got to lay in his bed. They think that Chen's biggest mistake was, quote, he married the wrong woman and ruined his entire life. Others lament on the fact that Chen could have actually done a big service to society, saying, this is so sad. I truly feel sorry for him. He could have had a brilliant future. Others blame the court, saying the court refused to extend the restraining order to his nephew. The court implicitly made this happen. Others say, bless this guy. He was just trying to protect his family against his crazy relative. During the arraignment, he was in court. He bears like zero resemblance to the Chen everyone knew. He looks like he's having a full mental breakdown. He looks disheveled. He looks like, I don't think he was, but he looks like he's been sedated. He looks like he's been dragged into court. Like his hair is a mess. He is kind of in like a hospital gown, so I don't know if he's been sedated, but it looks like he could have been. He has pled not guilty to murder and armed assault. The judge ordered Chen be held without bail. Michelle was present in the courtroom. She was visibly distraught. She did wave goodbye to him as he was being taken away. So it is going to be interesting. Now he has a new attorney because this is now a very serious criminal case. And his new attorney has stated, my client was seeking a restraining order against the person that is now being described as the victim. There is a lot of investigation that has to happen to understand who and why things happened the way they did. Chen has gone from a very well-respected cancer researcher to now being on trial for murder. What are your thoughts on this case?
What about his sister?
There was in 2025, a wrongful death suit filed on behalf of Cohen's estate. So I would imagine his mother is heavily involved in that against Chen. And it has been settled. It has been yeah. So it doesn't seem like it's settled. I don't think that there was an exchange of any payment or damages paid. It's just been dropped. Yeah.
Wow, this is, man.
Yeah. But I think maybe the trial will be enlightening in the sense we can actually get some real answers. I do think that there is a huge role that Michelle played in all of this. I think there are really only just rumors of how much of a role Cohen played. I think it would be interesting to see all of the evidence come out of whether or not he was extensively stalking them, because there are some rumors on Chinese social media of people saying maybe this was Michelle trying to lure her ex-husband back by creating this, like, I guess, potential threat to safety. So there's, I guess questions of how scary was this restraining order against Cohen even as scary as people think it is. Like, I guess there's that rumor. So we don't know. And I think it's going to be a huge point of contention. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Be safe, and I will see you in the next one. By 9:45 p.m., the very aggressive, bright, fluorescent LED lights are enough to drive anybody insane and give somebody a headache, especially if you've been inside this giant Dollar General store all day long with all the bright neon yellow signs, because of course that is the store's color. Ariel has been working at this specific location for the past 2 years, which, like a lot of other Dollar General stores and stores with the word dollar in its name, most things are not $1. The average price of an item at the Dollar General is around $2.50. But it is still cheaper than other stores, and it's one of the very few stores in this entire town of Hamden, Ohio. The population of the town is around 700 people. I wouldn't be surprised if Ariel has seen at least a good chunk of the entire population walk in, grab something, check out at her cash register. Since it is one of the few stores, I can also imagine that Ariel gets a lot of regulars. One particular family, the Siders, they always come in at 9:45 p.m. just before closing. You can usually smell them before you see them, and that's not meant to be in an offensive way. Ariel and the Dollar General staff, they have seen families that were struggling, and I think everyone can agree it is better to buy a bag of rice for the kids than it is to buy shampoo if you really have to choose between the two. And Ariel remembers she and her colleagues would purchase hygiene products with their own money to give to the Sider family. But the next day they would come in and it didn't smell like they were using any of the hygiene products. So Ariel says they all kind of backed off from that point because they thought maybe the family was getting offended that they were offering them hygiene products. So maybe it's best to just back off and lay off. But Ariel did notice some really odd things about the Siders. You have the parents, they look to be in their 30s. They do carry with them the very distinct smell of cat urine. Sometimes they would come in alone, sometimes they would bring along a child or two. The children would always have hair in their face. Like, not just messy hair, but their hair would be covering their face and covering their eyes. You cannot get a good look at their face. Ariel says the children would also stick very close to the parents, as close to them as possible, and it almost felt like to Ariel that the children were taught to never look up or make eye contact with others. According to Ariel, the family came in and would always buy the same few things. Sometimes they would purchase sugar once in a blue moon. Very rarely, not all the time, but like once in a blue moon, they would purchase diapers. But they're coming in nearly every day, so what are they buying? They would always buy the same two things: a jug of water and a decent sized bottle of vegetable oil. Water and vegetable oil. Water and cooking oil are usually staples in everybody's house, but I don't know how frequently one needs to replenish their oil. Would you need to restock it as frequently as you would a jug of water? Monday, June 29th of this year, Ariel sees the Sider family walk in and purchase their regular items: a jug of water and a decent sized bottle of vegetable oil. The next day, June 30th, Tuesday, she sees them on the news after they are arrested in connection to what has now been dubbed the Ohio House of Horrors case, where 16 children were found cramped in a 12 by 12 room, where there are more questions than answers now. The initial questions were, of course, is this human trafficking? Is this a human trafficking ring in the middle of nowhere, Ohio? Who are the 16 children? Who are their parents? Where were they born? How long were they in that room for? How did nobody notice? And what were they doing with the vegetable oil? This is the case of the Siders family. I'd like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support the children in today's episode. All the official donation information will be in the show notes. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's team of dedicated researchers. We'd also like to thank you for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Today's episode involves mentions of underage marriages, potential speculations of incestuous relationships, DV, CA, deprivation, and torture. Please do not prioritize this episode over your mental health. This case is also super current. There are still investigations, pending court charges, lots of updates. It's evolving every day. So if there are any updates between now and the posting of this episode, we're going to be sure to add a pinned comment below. Lastly, quotes, statements, comments may be shortened for brevity. And there's going to be a lot of times where in the episode, we're going to talk about people who have come forward to speak about the family. Those are unverified individuals. They are not testifying in the court of law. They are not being subpoenaed. These are not sworn statements of truth. They're just like Facebook posts. I'm going to indicate when any of those we should be a little bit wary of. But with that being said, let's get started. I have never seen a house like this before. It is a big lot with a lot of green trees surrounding it. And it's a small house, like 1,300 square feet, which that sounds nice. Like a little plot of land with a lot of green foliage. I mean, it probably could be nice, but it's also sitting directly across from railroad tracks. There's not even a fence, nothing guarding the tracks. Instead of looking out your front door and seeing your neighbor, you just see railroad tracks. And they're working railroad tracks too. It is considered a class 2 track, meaning run as needed. It's not inactive, but it is very low traffic, which is probably for the best. The houses sitting around the railroads, they don't look like they have the best soundproofing, and it could also be very dangerous for pets and kids. Nevertheless, June 30th of this year, 2026, Vinton County Sheriff's Office, they start making their way over to the railroad tracks. They're investigating a case, not on the tracks, but directly across from it in one of those small boarded up houses. Officers from the sheriff's office show up alongside Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations. It's unclear if that's how they always operate in tandem, but I will say the Vinton County Sheriff's Office does have 10 sworn officers. That's it. So it could be that. Like, they always need backup. I don't know. Now, this particular house, the officers are approaching, and likely it just hits them like a force field before they even enter. It's like the house is alive. It has a smell, distinctly cat urine mixed with who knows what else. Others that have been there before describe it as a foul odor just emanating from the house. When you walk in the front room, the walls and the doors look beyond battered. Let's say you don't shower for a few days and you've got all this like grime on your arm, and you just like rub your arm against the wall on repeat until the walls are oddly stained with grime. It's not like if you were to drag a big dark colored piece of furniture across the wall. It's grimy and it's inconsistent. It's splotchy. It's not just marks and scratches. It looks like a subway station, like filth on the wall. The house looks abandoned. There's trash on the floor. It piles up around the walls like some sort of mini landfill. And in the front room of this house is this hanging picture frame. It's like a portrait, but it's art. It's of a tiger. And it's a very odd placement and a very odd piece of decor, especially in a house that looks so battered that there's not even like a real meaningful piece of furniture or something to sit on. It almost makes the tiger painting hanging on the wall look like some sort of museum level artifact that's just waiting to be discovered. And right under the only piece of artwork in the entire place is a freezer. I don't know if it works. The entire place feels like a dump. There's bags of rice, like a small bag of rice, and right next to it is a can of roach spray, which I can't say is the most appetizing look. It's hard to tell if all the black marks on the ground are cat hair, disintegrated trash, grime, feces, rat droppings. Like, it could be anything, but it is everywhere. It is the type of house where any movement in your peripheral vision is most likely a roach. And that's if you're lucky. Somehow the air feels thicker in a place like this. It's a small 1,300 square foot home, but it feels like it's fit an entire landfill inside of it. The basement is filled with trash. I don't know how to describe it, but the pictures that you see of it, if you've seen any sort of hoarding home situation, you may know the visual, but it's when the trash has been sitting for so long in an unmanaged pile, it looks like it's melting into each other. I don't know how it works. There must be some scientific reason, but if I were to put a plastic trash bag on my kitchen counter for years later, it would still be a plastic trash bag. But for some reason, when you pile it together with all these other buckets of unidentified substances, cardboard boxes, moldy clothes, it disintegrates to look like it is melting in an oven. As the investigators make their way through each room, they find a little 12 by 12 foot room. It's also trashed. I mean, it's filled with human feces, waste. Inside that room, they find 16 people, 16 children, ranging in ages, the youngest being 18 months old, which is just a year and a half old, to the oldest being 18 years old. They are covered in human waste with insect bites, scratch marks on them. They're all crammed in a space. 12 by 12, just to give you an idea, it is smaller than the size of a standard parking spot at your local grocery store, which is typically like a 9 by 18, sometimes 9 by 20 foot space. 12 by 12 is smaller than that.
That's crazy.
Investigators, they rush to get all 16 children out of this house as safely as possible. First to the hospital. Some have to be flown by medical helicopters to local level 1 trauma centers. And it should be noted that authorities have said repeatedly, had they come a day or two later, someone could have died in that house.
I think if they would have waited another 24 hours, there was a very high probability that we'd be dealing with a death or multiple deaths of these children.
After safely taking all the 16 children into state care, they arrest every single adult in that house. 73-year-old Gary Siders Sr., 67-year-old Christina Lynn Siders, 36-year-old Gary Siders Jr., and 33-year-old Elizabeth Siders. 4 adults. So just to give you the family tree, Gary Sr. and Christina are married.
Mm-hmm.
They have a son, Gary Jr., who marries a woman named Elizabeth Siders. But when they were married, she was not a woman. She was 15 when they got married, but more on that in a second. So all 4 adults are arrested. They're charged with 16 counts of felony child endangerment. And at first, the speculation online was that this House of Horrors, that's what it's been dubbed online, like a lot of previous cases that have similar characteristics, but it must have been some sort of human trafficking ring. Otherwise, why would there be 16 children crammed into this small room? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Ohio authorities have come out to dispel the rumors and ease some of the tension. They state that this is not a case of human trafficking, even in the slightest, that there is no danger to the community or to society at large. So what is happening? Maybe the neighbors have an idea. The next door neighbor to the Siders says, well, first they were shocked by it because they didn't even know that there were any kids living in there to begin with. They never saw any children near the home, in the home. They thought it was just like 4 adults living there. Not 4 adults and 16 children. They thought it was just 4 adults, not 20 people living inside that tiny little house.
It's stupid that it's happening close to Wellston and Benton County. Benton County, I mean, you don't know what's going on in this world anymore.
The only thing people could find evidence that there were children indeed living in that house, because people are like, well, what if the neighbors are lying? What if the neighbors were complicit and they didn't report this and now they're trying to cover their ass? But when you look at drone footage and photos of the house, really the only evidence that you can see from the outside, and not really, is like this abandoned, broken children's bike in the front lawn. But it looks abandoned. And then in like the brush, the grass, there is a children's book called Jonathan James and the What If Monster, which is actually a pretty good book about a little green monster that whispers negative fear-based questions into the main character's ear to hold him back with self-doubt. But it looks brand new. It doesn't even look red. And inside the house, when the door is open, there seems to be a grimy high chair that also doesn't look used at all, but it's grimy. The investigator says these folks were pretty good at hiding those kids. The Attorney General of Ohio says,
I didn't actually go into the room where the kids were. I just looked through the door. I can still smell. I can't get the smell. I cannot get the smell off of me or away from me right now.
The reported ages of the children are 18, 16, 15, 14, 13, 11, 10, 8, 6, 5, 2 4-year-olds, a set of twins, 2 2-year-old twins, and 2 18-month-old twins. 16 kids in
3 twins back to back?
Yeah.
Wow.
Back to back. In this tiny little room. And people have made these like kind of like a graphic of 16 children laying in a 12 by 12 foot room. If they all laid down, they wouldn't be able to sleep. It just doesn't make any sense.
I feel like we should try to sit down.
It got stuffy. It got, crowded. We didn't know what to do with our arms, and we were all trying to just really be in the space and just think about what to kind of do and say.
Another neighbor says, kids, adults, he didn't even know anybody was living in that house, period. He thought the house was abandoned. He says it's wild that so many people were in that house. I mean, there was no movement or sound. Honestly, the house seemed abandoned, and that was a shock because we had never seen or heard anything from that house. To me, it seemed like they had them locked in there because I never saw a child in that yard. Or the people that was just in court, like that was the first time I seen them. So if this is not a case of human trafficking, why were the authorities there in this seemingly abandoned looking house anyway? Did someone notice the kids and call the police? Weirdly enough, authorities have been very evasive about this question. No one has confirmed why they were out there in the first place, but it is believed that the police were investigating a case of indecent exposure where Gary Jr., so the younger one, 36 years old, was allegedly indecently exposing himself. According to court records, Gary Jr. is accused of exposing himself outside of his home to people other than those in his household on May 23rd, May 27th, May 29th, and May 31st.
What?
So just to reiterate, as of right now, the authorities won't confirm that that's what they were investigating that day, but the warrant for the indecency charge was issued on June 30th, 2026, which is the day that they go to the house.
Oh, okay.
But they haven't confirmed it. So there are other rumors like floating around of why the investigators were at the house in the first place. But one forensic psychology researcher does state, when I see indecent exposure, it usually sets off a red flag in my head. In addition to intimate partner violence, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is also a tool to maintain power over a victim in an intimate partner violence relationship. I mean, this case looks like a failure of systems, both for survivor support and offender accountability. Ultimately, the children had to pay the price. One of the big questions in this case is, who are the children? Like, who are the parents of the children? Elizabeth Sider's attorney has come out to say that all 16 children are hers, but there are speculations online, which I'm going to get into. But he states that all the children are Elizabeth Sider's and Gary Jr.'s, which would make Gary Sr. and Christina Lynn the grandparents, Gary Jr. and Elizabeth the parents of all 16 children. That's what the attorney is saying. November 30th, of 2022, so years ago, Elizabeth and Gary Jr. do have 2 extra children, 2 more children that were not found in the house. At Riverside Hospital, Elizabeth gives birth to twins Bailey Lee and Faith Lee Siders. They were born at 24 weeks gestation, so they're really premature. And the twins were born with a condition where their faces and their chest are fused together in the womb. And they also share vital organs. They are conjoined. That is the more common way that people are conjoined, is chest and face. But typically that condition has a mortality rate exceeding 80%. For cases where the twins are unseparated, there's nearly 100% death rate.
Whoa.
They were also born extremely premature and passed the same day of natural causes in the hospital. There were a lot of rumors circulating online that these children ended up dying in the house or they died under suspicious circumstances. That doesn't necessarily seem to be the case. They did pass in the hospital and their death certificate does list it as natural causes. But the timeline of this is kind of enlightening. I'm not exactly sure what it reveals, but it is shocking. If all 16 children are Elizabeth's, that means she's had 4 sets of twins starting from 2022 to now. There's a lot of children. The longest gap between Elizabeth having children, and again, this is if they are all hers, is about 2 years in between children, in between pregnancies. The shortest gap is closer to 11 months. We actually have no clue in total how many children Elizabeth has had because you have the twins that passed away in the hospital, and there are circulating rumors and speculations that Elizabeth had another child when she was 13 years old that passed away. So we don't know how many times she's given birth. And from then on has just kept having more children. And that begs the entirely new question of like, why? Literally, why? If these are all Gary Jr. and Elizabeth's children, why have more children? If you're not going to take care of them, why have them? What are the children even living off of? What are they eating? Remember the vegetable oil? There have been a lot of theories about the vegetable oil that they would purchase frequently, regularly at the Dollar General store with a jug of water. There are 2 theories of the alleged repeated purchases. The first theory is that that is what the children were consuming, vegetable oil. I will say that vegetable oil is typically a part of famine relief kits, but there is usually grain included as well. So you're cooking with a lot of the oil. Vegetable oil specifically has high calorie density and it's fortified with vitamin A, D, E, and K. And it's also softer and easier for malnourished infants and small children to digest compared to soy oil, corn oil, other oils. It's a bit softer on the stomach. So could they have been feeding the children vegetable oil? It's very hard to say. There have been reports that the family also frequented a food bank regularly to pick up food. So maybe they were cooking, although looking at like the alleged photos of the house, I don't think they were really doing any cooking. But maybe they were using the oil to fortify and calorie up some of the other food that they were getting at the food bank. It's unclear. I do think it would be a hard task to get enough food at the food bank to feed 20 people. So maybe it is food, but maybe it's not. Another theory, or it could maybe be a double use case, which some people have said vegetable oil is a home remedy for getting rid of lice, which I can imagine is a problem in the household. Some netizens have pointed out that in the mugshots, Elizabeth's hair looks like it's just caked in oil and grease. Was she using it in her hair to get rid of lice? That seems like a very strange, prolonged treatment. Like maybe you buy vegetable oil once to try to get rid of lice and then you go to other tactics if it doesn't work. But to continuously do that for who knows, weeks, months at a time. And there is a risk, by the way, like please don't do this at home because there is a risk that when you coat your hair with the vegetable oil, it actually coats the lice eggs and preserves them, keeping them safe to hatch.
Oh.
Ultimately, as of right now, as of filming this, we don't really know what the vegetable oil was for. We also don't know how the children have been living, what they were eating, how they're still alive. In a press conference, the Vinton County Sheriff states,
most of our livestock was kept in better conditions than the children. It was extremely high presence, I'm sure, of bacterial and human feces. It was just a disgusting scene.
Investigators are not yet fully able to even go into the house and further investigate due to the deplorable conditions. It hasn't even been deemed safe. The Attorney General of Ohio, I don't know what this man was thinking. I will say he said some incredibly problematic things when discussing this case. He says, we didn't know that there were going to be 16 kids in there.
It really looked third world. It's the type of thing that we're not used to seeing here in America.
Which is not only deeply offensive, I do think it's also incorrect. He keeps making comparisons to what he calls third world countries or what we should better call developing nations. There are loads of people that live in impoverished situations in developing nations who treat their kids to the best of their abilities.
Yeah.
And then we were talking as a group about some of the evidence we looked at today where they actually discovered the kids and found the kids. And it's not that different than those old commercials you see of like kids in Africa, like just where they were covered in bugs and squatting and had that like distant look in their eyes.
It's terrible. I mean, it's absolutely terrible. And again, we've got to make sure the kids are safe.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who is talking right now?
The Attorney General of Ohio. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I don't know what this man is saying, okay? We got to make sure that they're placed in good, solid therapeutic placements.
Some of these children couldn't even speak. It looked like almost feral animals. It was terrible. So when we're talking reading and writing and education, we're talking a whole nother level of expectations here.
I do think that there is probably an intensity of emotion to try and convey to the general public of what they're dealing with, as well as the residents of Ohio, so that they know that there's going to be a lot of state care that needs to be poured into the 16 children. But I do think comparing victims to feral animals is just not the best comparison to make at all. But speaking of heinous conditions, there have been a lot of AI videos and photos circulating of this house. You see cages. Investigators have come out to say there were no cages. You see children being like locked in boxes, in cardboard boxes. Like there's just a lot of weird AI stuff.
There were pictures that the kids were in cages, that they were taped shut, their mouths, whatever. I don't understand why people put stuff like this on. It's not truthful, but I can't stop it, and all I can do is shrug my shoulders and say, why are we doing this, particularly to these victims, because they're going to be tarnished by this for a long part of their lives.
But there's also a lot of very realistic videos circulating of people who are filming themselves, technically, if this is real, breaking and entering and trespassing a crime scene. So you can see people who have gone out to the house and they're filming the outside of the house. It does very much look like the Siders' residence. They go inside, and just based off of the photos that we've seen taken from outside the house when the doors were open and we can kind of peer inside, it does seem like it is real. I can't verify it. And also, I will note that it is illegal. Law enforcement have not verified or authorized any images of the house. So I don't know how a lot of these people are publishing this type of media, but law enforcement has warned that people entering the property without permission could be committing criminal trespassing. So just be wary of that when you're out there looking online. In New York City, a former judge is found dead. And if it were anybody else, it might seem like a very normal case of maybe he overdosed, maybe it was an accidental fall. He collapses in his mansion in New York City. This is the former judge. His body slides down his entire staircase until it comes to a full stop, and he ends up taking his last breath. Once his body is found, Alice Black, who is a rookie FBI agent, is assigned to the death investigation. She's had a whole career as a homicide detective in the NYPD. She was actually attacked, beaten, and then ended up in the hospital. Afterwards, she was essentially shunned from the NYPD, essentially excommunicated from the force, and her next best gig was a desk job for the FBI. So this is the case that she's assigned to. Her experience is pretty clear when she arrives at the scene because she spots these claw marks on the bottom of the bathroom door that match the victim's swollen and raw fingers. She also notices the track marks in his arm. It's an overdose, yes, but the victim is clearly not an addict. The scene was purposefully staged by the victim's killer. The scene also matches a prior death case that Alice Black has on file. Alice makes the connection. Both staged overdoses, both men who hold power in different ways, and of course, the killer. She thinks the killer is going to be the same person. In Hulu's new series, Furious, we're actually introduced to the killer, to Catherine, our female serial killer who already has her eyes on her next victim, her third victim. As Alice pieces together the investigation, we get to see exactly how finely tuned and deliberate Catherine is killing. She is completely in control. She snakes her way into her third victim's life, but it's very clear this is not her first time meeting him. Her victim is also picking up on this, but he can't exactly place where he's seen her before. He really doesn't have any sort of idea. This case does not go as planned. An unexpected challenge forces her hand, and it scares her so badly she begins to lose focus. The second episode of the show Furious crescendos with this, and the very last frame is so haunting. I was completely hooked. The twist, the pace, it is exactly what makes Furious, Hulu's new thriller series, so addictive. And just Catherine starting to slip, and Alice is closing in, using the killer's own secrets, her own hidden past she's tried desperately to shed in order to close in on the killer. It's just such a tangled tangled mess. And just when you think you know why, when Alice thinks she knows why Catherine is doing this, Catherine's MO changes in a way that violates everything that we think that she stands for. Who we thought she was, why she's killing in the first place, it goes against it all. Furious premieres July 27th on Hulu and Hulu on Disney+. As of right now, all 4 adults have been charged, like I said, with 16 counts of felony child endangerment. Bond was initially set at $300,000 for all 4 individuals, which is not the case anymore. But first, let's get into what we know about the 4 first. Elizabeth Siders, the 33-year-old, the alleged mother, is the one that a lot of people have opinions about online. She is the alleged mother of all 16 children, and netizens have started pinpointing out that her demeanor in the virtual court hearing was not what they were expecting. I guess people going in, they were comparing this case a lot to the Turpin case, where the parents were, I don't want to say that these parents are not similar, but I think they were expecting a very evil demeanor. I think they were going in expecting a cruel, heartless mother who wanted to abuse her children, perhaps for fun, perhaps for her own sake of pleasure. We don't know, right? But instead, they see the court hearing and they see a woman who looks a little bit more confused, more than anything. Like, she looks very dejected and confused. And netizens have noticed a mark on her left arm. It looks like a ligature mark. So the mark on her left arm does seem too high up to be a mark from handcuffs. And it seems like it's prominently on just one arm. I don't see it matching on the other arm. It's unclear if this is a ligature mark or when it was, where she got it. Like, it's just, netizens are a little bit skeptical of the mark. People have also further dug deeper into her past. There are pictures of Elizabeth from before she marries Gary Jr. And I think it's gone viral because it's just so jarring to see the difference in the way she looks. She looks like a very normal person. I don't know if that's an offensive word to use, but she looks incredibly normal. She looks well adjusted. She looks like a typical teenager. And then you see her mugshot, and yeah, 15 years has passed, but it just doesn't make sense how she got set on this trajectory of life. They look like 2 completely different people. In addition to that, according to records, Elizabeth and Gary Jr. were married when Elizabeth was just 15 years old and Gary Jr. was 18 years old. Elizabeth's family have also come out on Facebook to allege that Gary Jr. started isolating Elizabeth from them when they got married when she was 15, which it's believed that they had to go out of state to legally get married. Marriage records show that Elizabeth being 15, Gary being 18, that would not be legal in the state of Ohio. But it is in the next state over, in West Virginia, which is where they went to file their marriage license.
That's crazy.
And 2 months after, they give birth to a child. One politician from West Virginia who helped pass a bill banning child marriages in West Virginia states, West Virginia was one of the only states in the country that didn't have a floor for the marriage at all. There were records in the past 20 years, like not 100 years ago, not 200 years ago, 20 years of children as low as 8 years old being married to grown adults, people in their 50s, 60s. Allegedly, one of her brothers, Jeremy Russell, this is Elizabeth's brother, alleged brother, has posted on Facebook, "My sister just wrapped her life up." I'm not entirely sure what that means. I don't know if it means like her life is over now that she's facing these charges, but he says, due to indoctrination, it is 100% real. 20 kids and younger than me, the math equals immature piece of shit man involved. I met this dude a couple months ago, shook my hand like a baby would, super soft hands, definitely never worked a day in his life. I should have took him out that night. It's been 15 years, you lost touch with your family, followed another, and look what happened.
Oh, he's also bashing the sister, you're saying?
Yeah.
And he said he met Gary Jr. a couple months ago?
Yeah.
Like just recently?
Mm-hmm.
Did he say he knew or didn't know the kids?
It seems like he's insinuating he didn't know that they had that many kids. A lot of the relatives have come out and they've stated that they knew that they had kids, but they didn't know exactly how many.
That's a pretty wild statement to say, though.
Yeah, how do you not know? Like, even my relatives that I don't talk to, I have a general idea, pretty firm idea, actually, of how many children they have. Yeah, it is odd. There is, though, a huge debate on whether or not Elizabeth, because she was married at 15 years old and had her first child, it's actually alleged that she had her very first child or gave birth to her very first child when she was 13. That child did not end up making it the question is, was she groomed and kept almost as some sort of breeding machine, some sort of breeder? How much is she a victim in all of this? How much is she a perpetrator? Which, side note, all 4 defendants have been assigned public defenders. Elizabeth's attorney has been incredibly outspoken in this entire case, and some might even say, like, maybe a little too outspoken. He states in an interview that when he went to go talk to Elizabeth, he didn't really know what he was walking into with this case. Like, I'm sure he Googled it and it's bad. But he says that when he walked in there, he doesn't know what he was expecting, but he sees Elizabeth and he describes her as being very timid and exhausted.
I asked her if she had seen any of the coverage that has been online for the better part of a day now. She hasn't. She does not know how the home, the conditions, the investigation is being described. And I chose not to share all of those details with her at this point because she does seem so fragile. The person that I met with, though, is not someone who comes across as pure evil.
All the defense attorneys have taken a very strong, seemingly a strong disliking towards the prosecutors describing this case as, quote, pure evil.
Evil requires malice, and the person that I saw there, Elizabeth, she doesn't have that in her eyes.
He says the thing that shocked him the most is one of the very first questions that she asked him was, are the kids okay? When can I see the kids? Do you know anything about where they are?
Usually when people are in jail, they ask, can you get me out of here? When can I get out? So I think that was telling.
Which a lot of people are saying, like, well, the bar is so low. Like, that's a little bit of a... People might agree that Elizabeth is a victim in her own sense and perhaps a perpetrator in a different sense to the children. But I guess that statement was just kind of a little like, what? Mm-hmm. Elizabeth's attorney has filed a request for the judge to lower Elizabeth's bond, which has initially been set at $300,000. The argument being that, quote, the defendant is a 33-year-old mother with no known criminal history. There's been no indication that the defendant has been anything but cooperative with law enforcement since the initiation of this case. The attorney argues that she's not a danger to the community. She's not a risk to herself. She's not a risk to the children because all 16 children have been removed by the state. The attorney continues, through conversations with counsel, the defendant maintains that her principal desire is to reunite with her children. She understands that reunification of any sort is an impossibility if she does not appear before this court.
So did Elizabeth's attorney say anything about if she's a victim? Did they point fingers at...
Yes, he said that Elizabeth does not see herself as a victim, but he's still investigating. The prosecutors are still investigating. He's kind of hinting to the fact that he believes that she is. Does that mean that she should get away with no charges? I don't know, right? Like, I don't know if that's what he's insinuating. But he does state that he feels the $300,000 bond is excessive and it violates the 8th Amendment. So the 8th Amendment protection is against excessive bail. But it's interesting because he doesn't ask to lower the bond. He asks for a reconnaissance bond. So
what is that?
It just, like, no bond. Oh. Yeah. He argues that the investigators themselves have documented this home being in extreme poverty. So he's like, I mean, how do you expect her to come up with $300,000? That's not even in the realm of possibility. One person comments about Elizabeth and her motion to be released. What if she gets pregnant while she's out on bond?
By who?
But what if she does? I mean, she's gotten pregnant so many times. Why has she gotten pregnant? We don't know if someone has been forcing it upon her. We don't know if this is a choice that she willingly makes to get pregnant. What if she goes out on bond and gets pregnant? That would be yet another child brought into this world to be neglected and abused. I guess they're arguing, forget everything else. Like, what if she gets pregnant? A lot of other people who are a bit more sympathetic to Elizabeth are saying that they don't think that she should be let out on bond just because jail might actually be good for her.
Her living condition is pretty dire, you know, like
not in the sense of like she needs, well, she probably does need a lot of mental health care as well, but just the facilities is probably an upgrade from the house that they were living in. Others have no sympathy. I will say there are a group of people who genuinely don't think sympathy is warranted in this case. So I would say I would break it up into a few different camps. I think there is one camp who sees Elizabeth as part of the victims. Mm-hmm. So they see her kind of as part of the 16 children. They think that maybe she was restrained and forcibly impregnated all those times. They don't know, but they think that something weird must have happened in order for her to subject herself to this life. They think that she is a victim through and through. Then you have a group in the middle where they think that she was the victim. She was clearly groomed in the beginning, but maybe somewhere along the way, the lines between victim and perpetrator are getting a little bit blurry, and she still had some duty to protect her 16 children. And there were still moments where she was at a hospital where she could have alerted some authorities if there were any abuse ongoing. Then you have a group of people who say it doesn't matter if she started as a victim. At the end of the day, there are 16 victims that she neglected. And they say, quote, she smelled them every day as they laid near their feces. She heard their hunger cries. She saw the insects and roaches crawling on them. She saw their ignored tears. She didn't care. Her bond should not be revoked. Which, speaking of, there are rumors circulating, and some are saying that they have inside sources that have confirmed Elizabeth is pregnant in custody, that when they took her in, she was pregnant. This has not been proven. This has not been confirmed by any authorities. And I don't know how these inside sources would be able to, I mean, is that not like a HIPAA violation? It's kind of crazy, but that's the rumor going on. Elizabeth's attorney states,
I have previously stated that she was not necessarily characterized herself as a victim, but the investigation, prosecutor's investigation in my office is still locked up.
He says, I think this is a case more so of isolation than a case of evil. And I think there's an important distinction here. So this is the part where I feel like maybe the lawyer needs to stop doing some interviews. I think dispelling rumors or even advocating for your client are all really great things. But I think some of the arguments he makes is kind of like the Attorney General of Ohio, where it's like, I don't know why you said that. And now you're making people oppose you for no reason. So he's saying things like, he's insinuating this is more of a case of poverty than it is neglect. And it has a lot of people riled up because they're like, no, I grew up impoverished. Or some people are saying, no, I have children and I went through a time where I didn't have any money and I never treated any child like that.
Yeah.
So it's a very tricky situation I think he's finding himself in.
Not the best approach.
Yeah, and he says, quote, because if that's all you know, and you have to think, someone at 15 years old doesn't know a whole lot about being an adult, about being a mother, about being a wife. That's been your worldview for the past 17, 18 years. You get shaped by that. And he continues to emphasize this is maybe more so about isolation than it is about evil. He states, I don't think we've seen any evidence to prove or to suggest that the children were locked or forced to remain in that 12 by 12 room. He says about Elizabeth being pregnant so frequently.
So what she's told me repeatedly is that she and Gary wanted a big family. I don't know if they wanted a family that was this big, but they repeatedly said, she's repeatedly said to me that she wanted a big family. She said that kids are a gift from God.
He says he was told by Elizabeth that some of the older kids had phones and their own social media. He said that it just doesn't jive with the way the case has been described to the public. He says it's his understanding that the kids can communicate and there's nothing to suggest that they were anything like, quote, feral kids, that term that is being used in the media. To which one netizen comments, the kids had social media, but the oldest couldn't even spell their own name at 18. The police literally said these children were feral, and if they had arrived a later day, some of them might have not even made it. The math is not mathing here. Others are commenting, well, he's just going off of what his client is telling him. Facts speak differently. Others stand a little bit more in the middle saying, this is just a lot to unpack. And the lawyer's perspective is definitely something to consider. Inside jokes and social media access don't necessarily disprove confinement, but it does paint a very different picture than what was initially presented. A lot of Elizabeth's family have also come out on Facebook to talk about how she was a normal teenage girl until Gary Jr. isolated her. And to make things murkier, Gary Jr.'s side of the family have also spoken out. So there's a guy named Ronnie Fletcher. He's the son-in-law of Gary Sider Sr. So this is Gary Jr.'s brother-in-law, Elizabeth's brother-in-law, I guess, by marriage. So Gary Jr. has a sister, and Ronnie is married to that sister.
Okay.
He comes out to do an interview where he states,
I mean, we've had death threats. We've been told that we need to be put in front of execution line of guns and killed and burned in. It's been bad. Gary and Lynn did not raise their children that way. They're the 4 daughters that got out are successful members of society. We've raised our children. Our children have, college degrees or, whatever, and for us to be put into all this, and there's generational incest and, this is going on generational, it's not true.
So there's allegations of incest and stuff. It's not true. This is all into that one home. The last time we heard from them, we gave them a car, and it's probably close to a year now. Other than Lynn calling us and asking us for money or when they needed help with the water bill or whatever, if we had it, we sent it. If we didn't, one of the other daughters did. So we've
Who's Lynn? I'm sorry.
Lynn is Christina Siders, the grandma. They call her Lynn. Christina Lynn Siders.
She calls her. Okay.
So we've done what we could for that family at the arm's length that they was keeping us at.
Ronnie reportedly states that he knew that they had a large family, but, they thought it was probably closer to 10 children. And he only found out the truth when the news broke online. He says, if we would have known that it was like that in that home, we would have done something about it, even if it was just go there and take the kids ourselves or give them money. He says his family is terrified for their lives, and now they have to live like hermits because everyone's upset with them. He says, quote, how am I supposed to start a business in this community when I'm being stapled to the face of pure evil? Ronnie says about the prospect of Elizabeth being seen as a victim, he says she's willingly there at the home. She did not have a good home life when they got together, escaped to Gary Sr. and Lynn's home. So he's almost saying she escaped her rough family life to come here. And no one forced her to stay. That seems to be what he's insinuating. Elizabeth's family has fought back on some of those statements in their own post. Gary Sr.'s attorney has also chimed in, who is also another public defender, but he says, I do know that there's been a lot of social media postings, and family members or just some family members have sort of wanted to chime in with their 2 cents. I take some of that in with a grain of salt. One of the most vocal voices in this case thus far is Elizabeth's alleged brother, Joey. Joey posts a lot of videos where he's lip syncing to country songs, typically in a very exaggerated fashion, and he's kind of bopping up and down as if he's riding a horse. I'm not entirely sure. It's more akin to when you're practicing being a pop star in your bedroom at 3 a.m. than a typical TikTok trend. It's a lot, but also I am the last person to judge considering my very embarrassingly extensive digital footprint, but he does seem like he's been out there for a while. And that is moderately important considering netizens have accused him of trying to use this case to try and get famous. He's been quite vocal about supporting Elizabeth. Joey will post videos on Facebook where he's lip-syncing to the words,
I don't give a damn about what people think of me anymore. If you want to judge me, do it. It no longer concerns me.
I actually have no clue where this audio is from. It does sound like AI Vin Diesel. Pretty sure it's AI Vin Diesel because when I go on TikTok and I look up that sound, it's a bunch of Vin Diesel clips in interviews, but the words don't match with his lips. I think it's AI Vin Diesel, but it could also not be. It could be Vin Diesel, real Vin Diesel. But he writes in the video, pro Elizabeth, king of Gone Country. I guess.
King of Gone Country?
Yeah, I don't know if that's he just likes calling something Gone Country and being the king of it, I suppose, right? But one of the top comments reads, praying for her and her children, pro-reunification. He's also making AI photos of himself and his sister hugging. It looks like it's outside of jail. Mm-hmm. Right outside the gates of jail. Not outside of jail, but in front of the jail.
But has he say anything specific or is just these random posts?
It's more so random posts, and he does lay down some allegations. However, it doesn't appear that he was really present in Elizabeth's life. So it's unclear how much
she knows. Oh, he knows.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's not saying anything about the case. It's just free Elizabeth.
Yeah, and maybe more so emotionally compelling arguments, but not so many where I'm oh, okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
But emotionally compelling in the sense of it does make you feel very sympathetic. Right. But he captions things like family over everything, blood bonds unbreakable. Joey's also fighting back to internet users who have been posting negative things about him and his family. And he writes in all caps, don't worry, guys. I'm not worried about what people say on my post. They're just immature humans that don't know their asses from holes in the ground. A box of rocks are smarter than half the people saying stuff. And if you don't like me, why are you coming to my page? He's also reposting a lot of supporters' threads on Facebook that reads, For those that feel Elizabeth is a human being who fell through the cracks, who spent her entire life in a cycle of abuse, neglect, and trauma, she is housed in Ohio Regional Jail, scared, alone, uneducated, and visibly emotional in a court hearing. She needed help. She still needs help. For those of us who have compassion for her, here's how you can help her now. You can send her a meal through iCare, and you can add money to her commissary so she can get hygiene, snacks, paper, shower shoes, a hairbrush, things she clearly has done without for decades. They argue that, quote, if she was uncaring and malicious, she could have left all the babies and ran, but she stayed. She couldn't leave them, and he just kept climbing on top of her for his own gratification. There has been, I think, aside from the very controversial and, quite frankly, in my opinion, should be illegal age of their marriage, I think that a lot of people have been drawing from the setup of society and in large personal anecdotes. So I couldn't find evidence, hard evidence, of a lot of the different arguments from all the different camps.
Yeah.
So I think there is a lot of emotions getting involved with this case. I mean, of course, when you're dealing with 16 children who are found in that type of condition, it makes you try to think of how that happened. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that she was also being used, and some people have insinuated that perhaps Gary Jr. is the biggest abuser, and even the grandparents have been abused. So there's just a lot of circulating theories out there. Others are posting on Facebook supporting Joey, saying things like, I believe she was likely the only thing standing between those children and death. So I think there's a lot of nuance to this case, where you do have a large group of people who are arguing that this is a systematic problem, where when the system fails women girls at the age of 15, allows them to get married, allows them to live in these impoverished conditions with no form of education. Of course, this is how their life is going to turn out. And so there must be some level of sympathy that must be given to these individuals. But then you have another group of people who argue that there have actually been a lot of women in far worse conditions, whether it be in this country or in developing nations, that have the innate internal maternal instinct to protect their kids no matter the cost, because they believe that is biological in a woman when they become a mother. So there's been a lot of arguments and like both sides of the coin, I guess. It just really depends, right? But then Joey does start kind of bringing up some weird stuff. Okay, so Joey starts messaging a guy named Debojit Das, who claims to be an ex-boyfriend of the eldest daughter of the 16 children. I don't know. I feel like Joey's getting scammed. I mean, maybe scammed is not the appropriate word.
Is this a real person with a face and everything, or no?
No, they're just like messaging Joey from what I can tell so far. I mean, that could change based on the recording of this episode, and this could very well be a real situation that's occurring. But I feel like Joey is getting bamboozled. Okay.
So what happened?
So this guy is talking to Joey, and they're just instant messaging, and Joey is telling him like, oh, I haven't seen my niece since around 2008, which is now 2026. So he hasn't seen his niece since 8 years ago. He mentions that because the last time I seen them, they were still under 5. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing because the math is not mathing.
Yeah.
This is allegedly the boyfriend of the eldest daughter, but she would have been closer to 10 in 2008.
Yeah.
I don't know. But also, like, there is a point of contention that people have of how can family members speak so passionately when they don't really know what's going on. Yeah. But I can understand the conviction of wanting to defend your family members regardless of how much time has passed. But he writes, I thought my nieces didn't have internet access. Cops and the AG being the Attorney General of Ohio, lied. I just sent this, so something ain't right. So he posts on Facebook the screenshots of him talking to an individual named Debojit, who was allegedly one of the girl's ex-boyfriends. And he's like, oh, here are my screenshots of me dating your niece. So
What's
then
the screenshot? Do we know?
It's just like messages of like, hi. There's like a voice note where she says hello, but it's hard to identify if that is even her. These are easily fakeable messages. I'm not saying they are faked, but it wouldn't be difficult to fake them. But he posts on Facebook, Joey is like, I thought my nieces couldn't read or write. These are messages between her and her ex-boyfriend. He says they had to break up because of their neighbor, Mike. He sent proof of everything. The lies need to stop. The speculation needs to stop. Clearly the neighbors knew. Clearly she could read, write, and speak. We just want the damn truth. Praying night and day for my nieces and nephews. Yeah, so it's just,
Yeah, it's just so unclear.
Yeah, but I also think the argument stands, but not really, in the sense of, I don't think the point of contention is if they can read or write. I think just the fact that they were found in those conditions is the point.
Yeah.
Also, Joey has served time for endangering children, resulting in serious physical harm to a child, felony of the 3rd degree. So the court sentenced Joey Russell to a 36-month prison term, which was the maximum penalty for his crime.
To who? Do we know? Is it a family member? Or?
Seems like it. Yeah. A woman named Tiffany Saunders posts on Facebook again, and it's very hard to verify any of these Facebook posts, but she says, I'm making this post for the sake of truth and truth only, but for clarity. I'll go ahead and say this about the situation because I'm moving on because I have to. Lots of you know Lynn, aka Christina Siders. So this is the grandmother. Is my grandma Diana's first cousin. Okay, it gets confusing. It's not really necessary, right? Mm-hmm. She's saying that they're related in that way, but she's also related to Elizabeth Siders because her daughter's biological father and Elizabeth's mom are sibling. Anyway, I think this is where people are alleging that Elizabeth and Gary Jr. are distant cousins. I couldn't find proof that they are distant cousins other than rumors and then like some very confusing words of who's related to who. But I did sit there and I worked out this little family tree, and they are not biologically related if this is what people are basing off of that allegation from.
Oh, I see.
Right. But I don't know, maybe there's other proof somewhere out there. Tiffany continues to write, these are some of the pictures of Elizabeth that I took right before or right around when her and Gary Jr. met. She had her whole life ahead of her. While part of me wonders if she wasn't mentally conditioned to think most of this was okay, the mom in me knows it doesn't matter. There's absolutely no excuse for dragging your kids or any human through your BS to this degree. In my opinion, she's guilty to an extent simply because she is an adult. The justice system will handle the situation however it sees fit. I'm cool with that because, what should happen in a situation like this? What does real justice look like here? I don't know, because that's a decision I'm way underqualified to make. But I feel like this also needs to be said. Lots of people failed those babies, and they continue to fail lots of others all over and keep the pattern continuing by not intervening when things aren't quite right. People all over the USA right now keep saying, oh my God, how does this even happen? Most people can't fathom, and I really wish I couldn't either, but here's an idea: generational poverty, deeply embedded trauma, mental and physical illness, systemic failure by other family and community members, all mixed into one big horrible mess. It's nearly impossible to escape any unhealthy situation without the proper tools, without the proper resources. Maybe I'm wrong to believe this, but I think with only a couple exceptions in this particular case, like the tremendous amount of kids they had, actual living conditions, these poor children were, and in fact, the children were basically hidden away in a 12 by 12 room. All the rest of this story, there are very similar situations all over the area, and most people turn a blind eye to it. From the child marriage to no education, living in unhealthy environments, and living in extreme poverty, it's all pretty much normal to a lot of people. I personally think it's almost like it's deeply embedded for people to turn a blind eye because they're already struggling themselves, or these are uncomfortable situations and topics to think about. That has also been a huge thing where people are saying, I don't know why Americans are so shocked right now that this is happening in their country, when you can just go to West Virginia and see one of the most impoverished states in the entire nation and see that this is something that's happening out in the open, and it's pretty blatant.
Interesting.
So I do think it's a very nuanced conversation of how much does poverty impact one's ability to be able to have autonomy over the amount of children they have, but also how to be able to care for the children. Mm-hmm. And how much is it malice versus, oh, this is what my parents did to raise me, so I'm going to do the same thing and I don't know anything else or anything better. So I guess that is a very nuanced conversation that's taking place. And I think depending on everybody's socioeconomic backgrounds, people have a lot of different stances. I do think this is a conversation where it is really important to probably face privilege when you feel like you have a very strong negative opinion, right? I guess. see how much that plays into it, which has been, something people have been talking about. But because still 16 children seems beyond excessive, even in those conditions, right? It seems like an outlier. People have been trying to find a motive. Like, was this some sort of obsession? Was having children an obsession for Elizabeth or Gary Jr.'s or both? Elizabeth's attorney did say that Elizabeth told him children are a gift from God and she loves having kids. Like, was it that? Was this some sort of like 4-person cult, 1-person cult, 2-person cult? Because again, the wording children are a gift from God is very specific. And Elizabeth's older brother believes that she was, quote, indoctrinated, which is again, a very specific word. Or were they getting something else of having the children? Primarily, the big motive question was state care. So the prosecutor responds to a question from a reporter about whether or not the family was receiving state benefits for everyone, which again would answer a very big motive question.
To my knowledge, only the two elderly, the two oldest, Mr. Grandma and Grandpa, were the only ones I'm aware of that were receiving benefits at that time, at the time of this incident.
So they're not using the children to get some sort of state-funded assistance. So why do they keep having kids? We really don't know. I mean, none of the children were ever enrolled in schools. And I think that this case has been kind of a reckoning on a lot of state-funded systems. So the first question was, a lot of the children seem to have been born in local area hospitals, which is what Elizabeth's attorney has alleged. Which means if Elizabeth is going to hospitals and giving birth to these children, was there not any point any medical intervention should have stepped in? So that seems to be a big question of like, was there failure there? Then there's another question of why is Ohio so relaxed with homeschool laws? Back then, the law did get changed. A bill was passed. So apparently back then, you would have to tell administrators of a school what you were doing to homeschool your children. Like you would have to give them like a whole blueprint of your whole plan to educate your kids because they can't just be running around not being able to read and write. That was the whole objective, right? There's a lot of paperwork that gets processed. A lot of people get involved. Now, apparently, you can walk in and say, I'm going to homeschool my kid, and that's it.
That's crazy.
You don't have to tell them what you're doing. I guess this is the whole, like, it's my kid. I don't know the fucking argument, okay? I really don't know. Yeah. So the question is, like, were they really that good at hiding the children, like the Attorney General of Ohio State? Or is the system just, like, not really doing its job? Mm-hmm. One resident does recall seeing at least some of the kids once at a local yard sale, and she did in fact notice that they appeared dirty, but she just assumed like the dirt and grime on them was they had been playing outside. The police haven't confirmed that every single child belongs to Elizabeth and Gary Jr. There are DNA tests being done. There are some people out there that believe and are speculating that older children could have given birth to some of the younger children. This is basically an internet rumor. A lot of that speculation seems to stem from the idea that they believe there is no physical way in which Elizabeth could be able to give birth to 4 sets of twins back to back. So remember in 2022, she had a set of twins that passed in the hospital, but her last births were allegedly 4 sets of twins.
Yeah.
And so they're just saying like your body is incapable of doing that. Like that would be nearly impossible, especially in the malnourished, lack of nutrition state that Elizabeth was probably living in. It just doesn't make sense to them how that's possible. But authorities have not confirmed that the children were essayed or harmed in that way or that there was any incest going on. So I just do want to make that very clear. Elizabeth's attorney states again that he believes that all 16 children belong to Elizabeth. A reporter did ask the prosecutor, has any testing been done to assure that all 16 children belong to the same person? He responds vaguely, I can't address that. Did the children have birth certificates? The prosecutor takes a moment and responds very carefully.
I don't know that we have all of their birth certificates. Let me answer that.
Were they all registered with the state?
Again, a little bit beyond what I can tell. I answered you what I know at this point.
So things could have changed. It seems like they did locate most of the birth certificates, but one reporter asked the prosecutors, do you know of any children's services safety checks conducted at that home? Were there any mandatory reportings, especially by hospitals or medical officials?
Yeah, I can't address that, sorry.
As of filming this, of the 4 adults, one of them has already been released. Gary Sr., the grandpa, has since pled not guilty by reason of insanity. He is demanding an his attorney is demanding an evaluation to determine whether or not he's competent to stand trial. And the reason that he was released is not even because of his potential incompetency. It's the fact that July 8th, they were scheduled for a preliminary hearing, and as they were transporting Gary Sr. to the courthouse from the jail, he falls. They take him to the hospital because he fell. They run a bunch of tests on him, and they realize, holy shit, he's got so many serious medical conditions that require specialized care. which is basically the only reason they let Gary Sr. out on bond. The prosecutor on this case says to the community very bluntly, practically, and I don't know if you folks know this or not, but when defendants are housed in county jails, it is the county's responsibility to pay for the medical care. Prisons are for defendants who have been convicted. Then the state of Ohio has to pay for it. But he's still an innocent man that has not been convicted yet, so the county was going to be on the hook for his medical care. Vinton County, also one of the smallest rural counties in Ohio.
Mr. Sider Sr. has a serious medical condition that requires specialized care. His medical care could potentially bankrupt Vinton County.
The prosecutor states we were not going to put that burden also on our local taxpayers, so it was agreed that we would do a recognizance bond so that he could get the medical treatment that the doctors say that he needs, and it won't cost the county that money. If he's released from the hospital, he will then be equipped with a GPS monitor. The medical care is going to be paid for probably on a federal level, I would imagine. That's what I think would happen. I'm not too well versed in like the pipeline of medical care for individuals who have no access.
That's interesting.
It seems like it would be taken care of on a federal level, but I'm not entirely sure. His attorney states he's entitled to his presumption of innocence and that his guilt must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. The state needs to prove that they may, the facts may bear out or they may not, that he may be found not guilty or not competent or himself a victim. So until we all know what's going on, I would ask the viewers to take a breath, take a step back, and let the process play out. Which, speaking of, a gag order is now in place for the prosecutors, which is not it's not like entirely uncommon for high-profile cases, but essentially the defense attorneys have filed stating that there have been lots of statements made by the prosecution that seem to be prejudicing the right to a fair trial. Basically saying it's pure evil, calling it the House of Horrors, calling them just like feral children, all of these things they think is not good. We are just going to have to wait to see how this plays out in court, which, by the way, I do think maybe the Attorney General of Ohio should stop talking about this case because of some of the problematic remarks that he's made, but that's an opinion, right? I guess we will just have to see how this plays out in court, whether all of them are going to... I don't know what's going to happen, honestly. There is maybe an argument that potentially black mold is in the house. That seems to be an angle that could be played. Black mold poisoning can be similar to dementia and cause brain fog, sudden mood swings, depression, anxiety, insomnia, chronic fatigue, headaches. I don't know. Some people believe that the grandma was taking care of the kids, and when her health declined, it caused this entire thing to go down. But all we know right now is each charge carries a minimum sentence of 2 to 8 years in prison with a maximum sentence of 12 years. So a potential maximum sentence on all 16 counts could end up being 192 years for each defendant. State social workers say they've received dozens of calls from local residents in the county offering donations, offering to help with long-term care for the children. They just approved $1 million to support the children. They're estimating the care to be around $100 to $250 per day per child for the rest of this fiscal year. But I just don't know like how much that will impact. I think that there probably will need to be a lot more resources poured into the 16 children if the conditions are as bad and as extreme as the prosecutors are describing them to be, which I tend to agree with just based off the pictures that I saw of the outside of the house looking in. But what are your thoughts on this case? That is so far what we have on the 16 children's case in Ohio, the House of Horrors. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Be safe.